Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
Patriots Unfiltered!
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Thursday here at Gillette Stadium, and we're coming to you live from our new studio. We need a sponsor.
Oh, yeah?
Any ideas?
Jersey
Need a
Mike's?
sponsor for the studio. There we go, Jersey Mike's.
Jersey Mike's studio.
Can I get a car?
We'll work for food.
Right.
Right?
Always.
Yeah.
Time to break for the Jersey Mike's lunch break of the day. And,
Yeah.
Matt comes in with the bags.
That's
We can
right.
do it up.
And what do we all get? I got the 13. We can say what we got. It's a whole thing. We don't even need to read.
It's all-
We
my
just
dream come
talk about
true.
it.
It writes itself.
I've been
All right.
waiting for this.
Wiz Khalifa, get on it. Okay? It's Deuce.
I'll
It's
take a
Evan.
car.
It's Paul. It's Fred. It's Matt in the booth. It's Jordan on the cameras. We're here for the next 2 hours talking Patriots, but of course, the big topic, Jaron Duran. I'm
Fun team. They're a fun team.
only kidding.
It's fun.
But congratulations to him. He gets up there, whacks a 2-run homer, and gets MVP. I mean, can this storybook
How
season...
much more fun
how
can
much
one
more
guy
can we
have?
do, right? Right?
Did you watch the game? No.
I did up until
Neither
after
did
he hit
anybody
the home
else.
run, and then after he hit the home run, I said, I've seen enough. Hauk's out. Duran's not going to...
Thank God.
Yeah. Well, he was terrible.
Well, at least he went after Ohtani. Some of the other people that pitched to Ohtani were basically
Well,
intentionally
it's the All-Star
walking.
game. You
So-
got to do that.
So at least he
You
went
know?
after him. He
Yeah.
did hit a 500-foot
Yeah,
home run off of
he's
him.
so
but,
good. Yeah.
Yeah, at least he tried.
But anyway, congratulations to Jared Duran. What are we talking about? We got 6 days until the public practice that we will be live at with Patriots Unfiltered. Can't wait for that. It's an 11 o'clock practice, right?
Yeah.
So, we'll,
All practices right now is scheduled for 11 o'clock.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's going to be hot.
I mean, personally, I'd rather have it a little earlier, but it's not
Yeah.
about me personally.
Yeah.
So
I think
I'm just curious.
Works for the fans, works for the team.
I'm just curious, like, what's happening with the team, from 7 o'clock till 11 o'clock? What are they doing?
Yeah. Whereas before, I think practices were usually like 9:30.
9:30.
So I also wonder, too, it's just, you usually play at 1 p.m. So, moving it a little closer to when an actual game time is, like, I get that. But I think Evan's point of it being a lot hotter is something to watch, especially with the weather we've had around here. It's been
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
I'm not worried about that. I mean, that's good, right?
It could be good in terms of mental toughness,
Yeah.
get ready for the September
I'm
games.
just thinking about, like, what's the day look like for the team now?
Yeah,
you know?
I wonder if maybe they want to do a little bit more pre-practice film
Maybe.
than they normally. I mean,
Can't
I'm
lift, right? That wouldn't make sense to lift
No.
before practice.
No.
and I'm
Yeah.
just spitballing. I have no idea.
Well, it's
you know.
interesting, too, because I know I've heard that Mayo's kind of an advocate of shorter meetings. And, so to
Yeah.
extend the morning, and it doesn't really make sense to me to have, like, let's have more meetings before practice. But, maybe it's a little later start in the day. I don't know.
And
Yeah,
I wonder if
that's
maybe
what I
it's
wonder.
less on the back
Sleep in.
end after practice.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Well,
the change.
it's a
Yeah.
good
Maybe
question
they're doing
for
more,
For Giraffe.
for
more
that first
film
press
before
conference.
practice and less after practice,
Yeah.
on the same day. So maybe they're getting
Yeah.
home earlier. I don't know.
No.
I think any and all of your suggestions
I do
probably
kind
are-
of wonder, my generation and younger, not exactly
Too
morning
early.
people. All right.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm just putting that out there.
Coach, not going to work for
Maybe-
me. I need 9.
Maybe,
How about 9,
like,
Coach?
for all we know, there's studies, not just in football, but in all sports, that players perform better in practice a little later in the day. They're
Yeah.
a little bit more aware, sharper, muscles have loosened up a little bit more. I don't know.
I
There's
mean,
got
you
to be
just
morning
always
people
hear about
still in
that.
your generation, Evan. I mean, there's got to be something. Like, because personally, for me,
sure.
I'd much rather get here at 5 a.m. and leave at like 3 p.m. than get here at like 10 and be here till like 6 or 7.
See,
a.m.
like that, I feel like
know?
is dead
Yeah.
with us Gen Xers and below. Like,
Way early.
we're people that like thrive at night. Like that's because that's just how
Yeah,
we grew up.
But I think that's always been the case for young people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when we were in college, Fred,
Right.
we didn't want to get up
I wouldn't get up
for
until
an 8
11
o'clock
if I didn't
practice.
have to.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Fair
my
enough.
15-year-old right now. He is like every morning, like, we got to do a wellness check at 11 o'clock in the morning.
You can't get them out
There
of
was
that.
one class I had. It was my fall junior year, and I had an early class. And at one point, the professor turns me aside because I wrote all the papers, did all the tests, but I never went to class. And so he comes up to me, he says, this isn't a correspondence class. You need to be here. I got a D. He gave me a D because I was never there. Yeah.
Who could have seen it coming?
I had a few of those myself. I'm not
If
gonna
you never
lie.
went, how did you know what papers and stuff to do?
Oh, I
Was
was.
it the syllabus?
Yeah, they had. I asked, classmates, hey, what, but he was like, no, you're never here. You get a D.
I had a friend in the
I'm lucky
class
he didn't fail me.
that thought I dropped the class. Showed
Yeah.
up on for the final. It was like an
It's like
optional.
10 a.m.
It was an
10 a.m.
optional
class.
attendance
Too
class.
much.
Oh well, this wasn't optional. Yeah.
And
Obviously.
I think I went to class for the midterm and for the final, and that was it.
Yeah.
I'm crazy. I don't know. I've never minded getting up early. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way I am. I am
Well,
not
you're
productive.
you're chippy.
I
You're
guess.
You're always happy.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
I get up. Early bird gets worm, right?
That's how I am now. But
Uh-huh.
I was just like Fred. I did not want any part of early classes in college.
Yeah.
My first year of college, I did 8, 9, 10. Those were my classes.
So
and
you'd
I
be
was
done?
and I was done by 10:50. That was great. I loved it.
Yeah, we had to do that like during baseball, Fred. That's
Yeah,
what
sure.
That's what you had
Special
a
Well, you're
front-
playing a varsity
You
sport.
had to
That's
front
a
load.
big
You had to
workload
front
for
load
a
your
kid.
schedule, but of course
Sure.
they had advisors and whatnot of
Yeah.
to do all of this for us.
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
No.
But that's okay.
Not at BU.
But we did have to front load our schedules unless you wanted to miss all your classes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mean during the day? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had to get them as early as you could. So when we were leaving,
Yeah, you got to travel up to
you
Maine.
know, like 11 o'clock for a game or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever,
Some people chose to go to their classes.
do you
I
ever
didn't.
wear your Hall of Fame ring?
No, I don't have a Hall of Fame ring, Fred.
They didn't give you the ring?
No,
Oh, just the bust.
So you get in a Hall of
Relax.
Fame and you don't get a ring?
no ring. No.
Watch,
Can we change that?
car.
I suppose
we
we
petition
could
the school?
petition it.
I think it was an oversight. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I think Maury got one, didn't he?
Maury's not in the Hall of Fame.
No, he's not.
No.
Oh, okay.
The only Hall of Fame he's in is the one he tried to force his way into on Tom Brady night.
Okay. Somebody will tell him and he'll text us. All right. All right. So, yes, training camp. We will be live at probably 10:45 on Wednesday. We're going to have, just as we've done every year, we'll have a wrap-up podcast after every practice. Paul and Deuce and Evan will be doing written wrap-ups for the website. So all the stuff that you've been used to will be that and more. So I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Good.
Yeah,
I'm
and we're going to
excited.
do, you said on Tuesday, you told everybody we're going to do live shows first 4 days of
Yes.
of
Yeah.
access.
So we're going to be
Wednesday, Thursday,
we'll have
Friday,
our
Sunday?
Yeah, next week we'll have our normal show on Tuesday, and then we'll be live Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I don't know if I'm giving out a state secret, but I think Saturday's off, and then we'll be live again Sunday.
No, we've
No, the whole
announced
schedule's
we've
out.
announced the dates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
If you're a fan, you know now when the
Every day.
Patriots will be practicing, when it will be open for the public.
yeah, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday we'll be live with Patriots Unfiltered. So can't wait.
So when you were talking about, back to why they may have decided to do 11 o'clock instead of what we've been accustomed to lately, 9 or 9:30, whatever, and you talked about the differences in the time of day, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that. They've had some studies done
Yeah.
or whatever, and I also noticed, and I think Mike Reese wrote about this in his notes either the last weekend or the week before, about that training camp staple of the in-stadium practice with season ticket holders isn't going to happen this year. It's going to
Right.
be different. It's
Yeah.
not going to be in the stadium. I wonder if they don't want to have a night practice. I mean, I think they talked about scheduling conflicts, and they haven't.
I
they
think
didn't-
it's more that.
Is it just
Yeah, oh,
that?
yeah.
Because I was wondering if maybe like they've done some
No, I-
research on it, and
No,
the night practice, and then that kind of kills the next day. Or,
No, it was strictly scheduling because I remember they're scrambling to find a day or a night where they could do that, and it just wasn't working out between the revs and concerts and whatever else they got going on here. They could not find a good night for that.
Because I can't. I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, Freddie. I don't remember any year that we did not have that
No, since we started it.
since we've done it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Bill's like, we could have just not done it? Like,
Yeah. Like,
All we
mean
had
I
to do
didn't
was have a
to do this?
scheduling conflict.
I left for nothing.
how come he doesn't have to do it?
There was the first year that it was actually on a Saturday afternoon. They had it in the stadium. That my first year when I came to work for you, and that was the day Ted Johnson tore his biceps, and I was the only one here.
Okay.
And I was like, son of, I thought it was gonna be like a nice, easy Saturday, in
and,
and out.
And I don't know, again, if I'm not giving away state secrets, but we saw the list of alumni alumni, not players, but alumni that will be here to sign during practices. And
Lenny St. Jean?
no, but Danny Amendola, Corey Dillon,
Nice.
like wow.
So Matt and I, no socks,
Yeah,
have sort of discussed trying to get Corey Dillon in particular,
Yeah.
but those two
for Pats for the past.
for the past. I think Corey Dillon will be a fascinating
yeah.
That's the
That'd be
get.
fantastic.
That's the
podcast. So
get.
if we,
Yeah.
could, we that's what we're going to try to do. Now they have some commitments that might not work out. I don't think all of those guys will be in town for a long time.
Right, they may
So
not have time.
It might be,
But
a
if you
time
get
thing, but-
Corey Dillon, Paul, will there be like a distance by that you're going to sit just
it'll,
in case?
it'll come up. I'll say, I've been here for 25 years. You're the only guy I was ever afraid of in the locker room,
Right.
and that's a
What,
fact.
James Harrison?
I-
You're
I'll
not afraid
fight
of
him any day.
he never asked me to lotion up his back.
Okay, all right. You telling me that
Others
Corey Dillon did? Or
No, he just
I
he
know,
scared me.
He's a scary.
He was
scary
he's-
dude.
He was a scary dude.
Have you heard
that
Corey-
day that he said, "I don't give a f"? Go ask Bill. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Does he seem like a changed guy now, though? I haven't really heard him talk
I
at
have
all
no
or anything
idea.
like that.
Yeah.
I guess
wouldn't know either.
I'm hopeful that he has a perspective. I think he's the most interesting of all those people, though, just to hear his perspective on that season and what it was like now that he's gotten away from it, and what that season. And I mean, were you guys surprised how quick it fell apart for him too? Like I remember, like 04, he's like unstoppable. 06, it's over.
Well,
It's over. It's painful to watch him run.
Well,
2 years
I mean,
later.
that's the life of a running back.
Yeah.
That was part of it. Fred's probably got the biggest part of it, but I think those kinds of guys.
Yeah,
just
he got what
comes
he
quick.
wanted.
He got what he wanted.
Yeah.
So he came in here. He had something to prove. He had a chip on his shoulder. Had an unbelievable season. They gave him the contract. He said, "See ya."
Yeah.
Randy Moss did the same thing.
Yeah.
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 And I know that we can't say that anymore because suddenly Randy Moss is like this mythical figure in Patriots history. He came in, had something to prove, had a great year, got a contract, went south.
But Randy Moss admitted that. He admitted that. Like, I didn't understand what I had. So, maybe Corey Dillon.
It happens
has
a
the
lot
same
with
thing.
those kinds of
Yeah.
guys with immense talent
Yeah.
that are sort of, I don't want to say troubled, but because I don't think that Randy Moss's trouble and Corey Dillon's trouble were the same. Randy Moss was never really in off-field trouble,
Yeah.
of any significance. Corey Dillon was in Cincinnati, and prior to him being in the NFL, he had I know Moss had his issues, in high school, but different kind of trouble. But I think that they, had reputations as sort of being malcontents and whatnot. Generally, that resurfaces at
Sure.
some point.
His body type kind of fit into it too, though. Like as a big running back, that
Right.
when you kind of let it go,
He did slow down.
You start
Fred-
to slow
Fred's-
down,
Fred
lose
nailed
your
it.
speed.
Yeah.
He
was
looked
so good
and
in
different
04.
player.
And plus,
Yeah.
the grind of being a pro athlete. Like, once you start questioning it, you're pretty much done. I mean, Parcells said once you start talking about retirement, you might as well retire.
Yeah.
You're out. You're done. So it's a really hard life.
A lot of wear and tear too. Like he
Yeah.
was the whole team in Cincinnati,
And
and
his
then he came
running
here.
style. Just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't make a lot of guys miss. He ran over you.
Oh, I mean,
So
Patriots
good.
would get a 8-point lead in the fourth quarter, and they'd
Oh,
start
yeah.
running him, and it was just game over.
Yep.
It was game over.
That was that Colts playoff game where it was just like, you got no chance with this guy now on the like. It was already hard enough with the Patriots defense, and now with
bad
this
weather,
giant bad weather
physical,
back, that,
pounding
like,
back.
Dwight
Yeah.
Freeney don't want to be tackling.
Oh,
Like Mathis and
imagine
Freeney,
that being a safety and seeing that coming at you.
Bob Sanders.
Forget it.
Yeah, right. It's like
Like,
all
170
yeah,
pounds.
Bob Sanders didn't care. That's why he was always
I know,
hurt.
He just
Yeah.
launched into his knees. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
hurt himself
Yeah,
too.
I just will always remember, like, he was muddied, like,
Oh yeah,
just like,
those are the pictures.
oh,
the
that's Corey
iconic
Dillon.
pictures. Yep.
Yeah.
Back
Yeah.
when we had grass. Yep. All right.
when
So
football was
so
football.
so training camp coming up. The other one, I know it's kind of like beating a dead horse. Before the draft, it was which quarterback are the Patriots going to draft. Now it's when do you start Drake May?
Yeah.
But your guy yesterday, Paul, I don't know what straw man he was talking about, but I don't know who the person is that's saying you have to start the guy on day one. I don't know who's saying that, but according to Felger, there's somebody out there who's Felger saying is an idiot and a
He's
moron.
he's beautiful.
Who is saying you have to start him in day one. I've on record saying I think he will start on day one because I think he's going to be ready and all that. But I don't hear anyone saying you have a quarterback like that, you have to start him right away, and
So
he can't sit.
I'm gonna push back on. No, I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You know, Mike was at his best in terms of manipulating an argument that didn't really exist.
Right.
Like he's very good at it, and he was very good at it yesterday with your boy, poor
Barth,
Alex.
right.
Alex and McCarthy were on with him, and Fred just absolutely perfectly encapsulated his whole argument. He's arguing with the ether. Like nobody is saying he has to start week 1, otherwise he can't develop.
He
No
can't
one
get
said
better,
that
right.
ever anywhere.
No.
Like, guys like Peyton Manning have said they felt like they benefited from playing right away. No one has said you have to play week 1, whether you're ready or not. No one has said that. That was his argument yesterday. So whatever. But the other part of it is like
Watch out, Paul.
I
He
love
could be
it, Paul.
listening.
Whatever's Felger. That's a good
this.
one.
Oh no, I was busting. You don't think I was letting? You think I was letting that go? I was busting his balls
yeah?
the whole ride home.
Okay.
So the other side of this is like you can't play him until you get this.
Right.
Like you can't put him behind this offensive line was McCarthy's big thing.
Right.
You know, Alex caught some shrapnel in this argument too. I don't think he was quite as strong on it as McCarthy was.
Well, he tends to play the fence. You know?
Shots taken.
Had to.
So like okay,
It was right there.
So just out of curiosity, what if you don't get the offensive line straightened out?
Right.
He doesn't play
He's
at all.
never going to play.
So next year, if the offensive line,
Sorry.
Yeah.
or is it okay because he's year 2? Well, he's never played.
Right.
So how much did he
Right.
develop?
Right.
Yeah.
He's never seen the speed of the NFL.
Like and Felger eventually got to rationality when
Yeah.
he said, he goes, it's a case-by-case thing.
Of course
If the
it
guy
is.
is ready,
Of course it is.
then he should play.
Yeah.
Whether or not the offensive line is ready or whether or not you feel like he has suitable weapons to deal with, you got to at some point figure out if the guy can play.
Right. My prediction is based on believing that it will be obvious that he is the best quarterback on your team and he's ready. That's what it's based on. If that's not true, then okay, let's talk about when we start him. But that's what I believe is going to
And
happen.
that was the flip side where, and it was McCarthy, and you can make fun of your guy because it was more Matt, who I really like. I did a show with him
Yeah.
before
Is
I
it
went
true
on
he's
vacation.
6'5"?
He's
He's
very
very
tall.
tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't sound like he's tall. You know how like people sound a certain
Yeah.
way?
He's very
Andre the
tall.
Giant.
Yeah.
But he was like, even if it's obvious that May is better than Brissett, I don't want him playing. I'm
What?
like,
Okay.
I don't
Well,
really understand.
yeah,
why.
What are we
I don't
doing? What are we
understand that.
doing?
I don't get that argument.
Well, I think his argument, I'm not making it for him, but I just was listening to because Barth was on, so I was listening, and he was just saying that if the offensive line is league worst, like it was last year, that he would have trepidation about putting Drake May in there behind him. So if he's the best quarterback in camp, but Chukes Okorafor is a turnstile at left tackle, you know, or do you have trepidation about putting him back
on
there?
paper, last year's line was the league worst. Okay,
In pass blocking,
that's
yeah.
a fact.
Yes.
On the
well,
Analytically.
according to the
ratings,
analytics.
according to the
It's not a
analytics,
fact.
According
they,
to the
they were
nerds.
the worst.
Yep.
Would you not put Drake May behind last year's line?
I would.
It depends on.
You would put him behind.
I would.
Yeah.
Like, was it
Yeah.
that bad?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
on
I would,
paper
but I,
it was.
But I want him to play.
And it was the worst in the league. But that said, was it that bad where you couldn't risk the guy's life? I think.
Yeah, I just think that some of that stuff gets overblown. Not
Right.
about the performance, but about the like. Well, he's going to get hurt. Like, any sack can result in an injury.
Right.
Like, and I just don't think that you can operate your team under the premise of I don't want him to get hurt. Obviously, no one wants to see players get hurt, except for Fred for all the opponents.
That's true.
No one wants to see guys get hurt. But you can't make every decision based on fear of injury.
No.
I think it's less about injury for me, and it's more about his internal clock, his footwork. Like I'm not
Bad
he's-
habits.
He's 225 pounds, so I'm not too worried about him breaking physically from that. But in terms of the bad habits creeping back into his play that we saw at North Carolina, like he looked without contact. He looked very tied together in the spring. If that stacks into the summer and is mechanically sound for most of the summer, and then you throw him behind a bad offensive line, and now all of a sudden it starts to unravel.
Sure.
That would, I think, be a bigger fear than, he's going to break ribs or
And
something.
that's when
something
I
like
would
that.
change my view is if Evans' scenario unfolds, Well, now it's a development thing. He's not ready mentally.
Right.
So now I'm okay.
Yeah.
But it's not because I'm afraid to put him behind that offensive line. I'm afraid if I put him behind that offensive line, he's not going to develop properly because he's going to rely on his athleticism. He's not going to go through his progressions. He's not going to learn as much as he should.
Right.
That's a different argument.
Right.
But this whole thing, like, I can't have him, but that was the whole thing yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't have him behind this offensive line. I don't care how much better he is than Brissett. I'm like, well, what if he's out there and he's playing well behind that offensive line? Doesn't that make you even more excited for the
and
future?
what about his teammates? Wait a minute. We got a guy here who's a lot better. Play him. Anyway.
Well, that was that.
This is going to be, I know, just the same way that people are like, is that all you're going to talk about? Who are they going to draft? Yeah, because
Drake May, is
we
the
had
story.
the third pick in the draft, and it was a big story. Now, we have the guy, and this is a big story. So we are going to talk about when do you start him. I mean,
I just think he has to play this year. Like, I don't know about week 1 or something, but like if you get through this year and he hasn't really seen any quality time, and comparing it to last year's line, like last year's line was so connected to last year's team too. So it's not just like this offensive line in a bubble, and they're going to go from last year to this year, and it's the same thing. Like, for better or worse. I mean, they could be worse for all I know, but you're talking about a new offensive system. You're talking about a couple new players. You're talking about some players who are actually pretty talented that probably should have been better last year. So, if they get to the point where it's the middle of the season and then the offensive line is still so terrible, then I think that's not as much an indictment on Drake May as the coaching staff and what they did this offseason. You have to protect him, but I think you have to get him in there and play. And if he doesn't play this year, it's a disappointment to me.
and by the way, when he does get in, whenever that is, let him play. Don't micromanage him.
Right.
Let him air it out if he has to. Let him take shots.
And he
Let
looks
him-
like that's what I saw in OTAs. It's just like, it doesn't look like he's going to be like, what can I do, coach? Like, it seems to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but like he's going to be himself. Like, and we saw elements of that kind of personality coming through of what he does. I mean, you saw it in college. You're seeing it in OTAs. Like, he seems like the kind of player to me that isn't going to be terrified of like making a mistake. Like, I just hope the coaching staff, to your point, Fred, is going to give him a little leash to bring that out of him, to let him make those mistakes, so that in year 2 and 3, if play breaks down and he wants to try some crazy pass while he's inverted or whatever, like that he's still going to try it.
Top Gun
like,
reference there. I like that.
Yeah.
You gonna have him throw left-handed like he did in college?
throw left-handed, I want it, like, that's fine. Like, I don't want that to be the basis of the offense, and I think people are so enamored of that stuff because of what Patrick Mahomes can do. But I want him to just have that confidence to be like, that's how we got to win games. You're going to have to make some of those plays.
I'm with Mike.
If this is going to be a Super Bowl
I think he's
team.
got to play, and not right away. It doesn't have to be right away. When he's ready, I want him to play. But I just look at it as if you're in a rebuilding process, and I think we can all agree they are, like, you want to spend as little time as possible rebuilding. You want to build.
Yeah.
And you want to get where you want to go. So let's just say, for argument's sake, he doesn't play at all this year. I feel like you're starting basically at square one next year. It's a lost year. And there are outliers. They're like Mahomes, stepped in and was MVP caliber his first year as a starter. Tom Brady won the Super Bowl his first year as a starter. So, like, I'm not saying that it has to be that way, but more likely to me is it's Jordan Love, who kind of sucked for half the year and got hot late in the year and played reasonably well in the playoffs. But where did they go, 9-8?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that none of us wouldn't take 9-8, but that's more. You're more likely. Aaron Rodgers wasn't great after sitting for 3 years because he hadn't played.
Right.
Like, how could he just step in and be great? He had never played. Again, there are outliers. I understand that, but more likely, it's the rookie year next year if Drake May doesn't play at all this year.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the more likely scenario, and then you have to wait 2 more years before you can possibly think you're going to be any
Right,
good.
and then you start getting into the rookie contract timeline, and now all of a sudden you're in year 3 of his rookie deal, and you have less of a leash. But
Sure.
Felger, he took it full circle and actually kind of countered his own argument with Josh Allen, who played his rookie year
Yeah.
Right.
when he probably wasn't ready to play his rookie
Right.
year.
I actually gave him credit for that, for actually bringing a few up that actually played as rookies and
Yeah.
didn't get broken.
Yeah.
Guys
Yeah.
that weren't necessarily ready to play right away
Right.
Yeah,
and
but
didn't get broken.
That's to your point, Paul, of Josh Allen had more interceptions and touchdowns his rookie year and looked like he was in over his head.
Yeah.
But that was a building block for him to eventually get to where he was
But his
getting.
team knew, no, he's fine. He's going to be fine. We just got to keep working with him. They knew. They
Yeah.
knew what they had. Just like the Colts knew what they had with Peyton Manning, who had more interceptions and touchdowns his first year. They know what they have. And what I always believe with Lawrence, he's a good quarterback. I don't care if Urban Meyer's his coach or whatever happened down there, or even what's happening now. I know he's good. I'd take him on my team. So
You know, it's kind of funny. I can't get this out of my head, and I'm sorry for even bringing it up. But like, people are so terrified of Drake May getting hurt. I'm like, what if he started and he gets hurt and it looks good, plays like 3-4 games like Burrow did, and then all of a sudden you're back in the top 5 again next year, and you're like, man, we got Drake May coming back, and we got a top 3 pick again.
Like, I would much rather have a situation like Anthony Richardson last year, who was another one that your boy Barthy brought up yesterday.
Yeah.
And he didn't say anything wrong. I just looked at it a whole different way than Alex did. Yeah, he went out and got hurt. He didn't get hurt because he was behind a bad offensive line, by the way. He got hurt because he runs the ball like a fullback. And he took a lot of hits in 4 games. But he got a lot of experience. He played 4 games and got some experience. So, in other words, why does him sitting out the last, 13 games not benefit him? But if Drake May sits out all 17, it benefits him.
yeah.
right.
Because one got hurt and one didn't. What's the difference?
Right.
Yeah.
He was watching and learning from the sideline, just the way that you think it should be.
Right.
But suddenly,
They're
the
not going to
Colts
ship
screwed
him
it
out
up
to Siberia if he
because
gets
Richardson
hurt.
got hurt.
Right.
No, he got a chance to play. Andy got hurt, and he got a chance to watch and learn.
Yeah, they're
What's
already
wrong
in
with that?
Indianapolis.
Like, it's not the end of the world if the guy gets hurt. Even, as you brought up, Mike, Burrow tore his ACL, a significant injury. That's really affected his career.
Yeah. We got Jamar Chase, and they went to the Super Bowl.
He's got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Just
So,
in general.
absolutely.
No, in
No,
general,
it is true.
You don't
Yeah,
want
it is
like
true.
injury after
Right.
injury,
Recurring.
obviously.
But so that's going to be an ongoing topic, I'm sure. And
Oh, every day.
it is what it is.
Cool, look good.
But then this morning on one of your shows,
Oh.
the
Lot of-
the conversation started out, I guess ESPN released top 100 athletes or something like that.
It-
And I haven't seen the list.
Oh.
I can't comment on it. They said it was a terrible list. But the conversation morphed into players who are overrated or underachievers. And they started talking about quarterbacks. And I forget who said it, but I think more than one agreed. Oh, Josh Allen is overrated. Why? Well, he can't beat Patrick Mahomes.
I saw Dan Orlovsky had a
Yeah.
coronary about
Yeah,
that.
and
which-
Dan
you might
Orlovsky
be-
came to Josh Allen's defense.
Right.
Yeah, you might be
But then it's
confusing
just
lists
a s-
here, but it's okay.
I'll borrow the word from Felger. That's a stupid, moronic argument. That just because he can't get past the greatest quarterback in the game today doesn't mean he's overrated. I mean, come on. What are we doing here?
So the Jeremy Fowler came out with his top 10 positional list.
Yep.
And I actually tweeted the Patriots that got mentioned in it right before the show. And an anonymous NFL executive, I forget if it was AFC or NFC, so I'll just say NFL executive, said that Josh Allen is one of the most overrated
Bill
players in
Belichick.
the league. And the reason that was given was that it was mental, like pre-snap, manipulation of defenses and, being, the Brady chess match type
Yeah.
stuff.
He's not overly accurate. And Orlovsky, I thought, was going to have a heart
He's
attack.
not perfect. I think one of his weaknesses is his accuracy at times, not like it used to be, but he's still like top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, it's
Probably higher than that.
Yeah.
Probably top 3.
Well,
I
but
mean,
he's in that group.
To me, it's a silly argument to say that like he hasn't won a Super Bowl, so he's overrated.
Right.
Like,
so is Dan Marino.
Well, it was
then.
everybody
So,
that Brady cleaned house over 20 years. Like Phillip Rivers was overrated. Peyton Manning was overrated.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
and
it was
Mahomes is that
fifth
guy now.
on the
Right.
list. I think it was off the top of my head. Mahomes won, obviously. Burrow,
Lamar Jackson.
There's one other guy that they had up there that was high. I'll look it up in a second, but I think Allen was like 5. I think Lamar was 4, and there was another quarterback that they had above Lamar. And he says most overrated quarterback in the league is what the executive quote was. Each guy has a blurb, and then the blurb is like a quote from one of the executives that was polled. And so Orlovsky had an aneurysm about it. But the biggest thing from us, my side of the street, right? Like most people that I see that, us film nerds and analytic nerds rate him as Allen as probably like the second or third best quarterback in the league behind Mahomes. So
Let me just throw this out real quick. Who would you rather have, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson?
Josh Allen.
Yeah. Yeah. So well,
And I love Lamar Jackson.
That's tough. That's Sophie's choice.
I mean,
for
all
Evan.
Lamar Jackson does is win. His
choosing between your kids,
but
Paul.
No. I love me too. I love Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind I would rather have Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Because I think he can win in more ways than Lamar Jackson can.
Yeah, it's probably easier to build around Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for that reason, I'd probably say
Yeah.
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But the executive that said pre-snap he doesn't dominate in that phase is like, okay, but there's nobody else that does the post-snap stuff that he does besides maybe Mahomes.
And then talk about how he's kind of shredded the Patriots defense, who are the masters of pre-post snap confusion and trying to, like he hasn't really had a problem with deciphering, until this last game here last year when they kind of slowed him down a little bit. But
Yeah.
I don't know. He's
So
a really
the
good
other
player.
thing they were doing is they were interchanging the word underachiever and overrated, and I think it's different.
Oh,
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
I think somebody can be overrated and not be
Jay Cutler is an underachiever.
Right, he has.
He wasn't overrated.
Right.
He had all the ability in the world and
Yeah.
never panned
Not
out.
Not all overrated people are underachievers, and vice versa. Not all underachievers are overrated.
I think Evan's saying Burrow, though. I mean, I love Joe Burrow, but I do think that he's going to start to enter that conversation if he can't stay healthy and, consistently put that team where everyone kind of assumes they should be right now with that lineup,
Yeah.
especially these last year or two.
That's probably a tougher-
Josh Allen, sorry to interrupt you, but Josh Allen was three. So
Okay.
it
I
was
feel better now.
Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar was the.
I think I could easily give you the question about Burrow and Allen too. Now, a lot of people, and I know like Felger would be very much in line with this. Burrow would get the edge because he beat Mahomes.
Yeah.
And he got to the Super Bowl and he got over the hump. He appears to be Joe Cool, the guy that, whereas Allen has not been able to win that game. Again, I thought Orlovsky did a great job of illustrating it. I'm sorry that I don't hold it against the quarterback when he threw a touchdown pass to give his team the lead with 13 seconds left and
Right.
couldn't win the game.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry if I don't blame the quarterback for that.
Right.
Like, so now he beat Mahomes in the playoffs, and,
Yeah.
and the whole narrative changes based on one squib kick,
Right.
or not.
That
That doesn't make any sense to me.
In the biggest of, the second biggest stage under extreme pressure, Allen performed.
Yep.
He performed. He
Yeah,
didn't.
it's not like they had a terrible performance against Cincinnati 2 years ago at home. I can't really think of the other playoff games that they lost that he and the team didn't show up.
Yeah.
Like even last year against Kansas City,
Yeah.
it was Diggs who dropped the bomb,
Yeah.
not Allen. It was the kicker Bass who missed the field goal that should have tied the game, not Allen.
Yeah. All right. 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Anything else you want to put on the table before we get to listeners,
I'll just
callers?
put one quick thing. Probably going to hear about PUP in the next couple days. So, guys who aren't going to be ready to go. So I think, just a little bit of interest, guys. Jelani Tavai didn't really do much. Who are some of the other
Kendrick
names?
Bourne,
Kendrick
Cole
Bourne's,
Strange.
yeah.
Strange and Bourne,
Stranger
I would
Bourne probably no
wonder
go,
about,
but,
yeah.
But Bourne's a good one too. Probably in the next 24 hours or so, I would bet.
If Bourne's not out there right away, who does that benefit the most?
Juju.
KJ Osborne,
Juju, KJ
Yeah.
Osborne.
Okay.
I would say Juju and Thornton and those guys because I think they're fighting for maybe one spot.
Yeah.
And maybe that, Keyshawn Booty, maybe that opens two spots.
By the way,
You
we
know,
should
who
mention
knows?
about Booty. It's good news for him.
We
charges
we
free
mentioned
booty
it on Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, we did mention it on
Yes,
Tuesday? Oh, okay.
and there was actually I did actually see a statement from the Baton Rouge. I don't know if it was Gambling Commission or the Attorney General's office. I think it was. So because on Tuesday I just kept seeing, according to his agent, they've dropped the charges,
right.
and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'd like to see that from
You say so.
and everybody was running with that.
Yeah.
But I saw an actual statement from.
Nothing gets by you.
How?
Do you think that that's the same?
No, by you.
Oh, I
Easy
see.
out.
Oh, that's the Hardy.
Hardy.
the
Right,
Hardy
Oh,
line.
right.
good, Fred. Good.
So I'll give you another
He
Felgerism
was
before
ready
we
to fight him.
before. No, I was like, I didn't get it.
Oh,
I don't know if you know that. That was one of Hardy's staples. Like,
Oh,
the
He
Saints
can
game.
get
Right before
Bayou.
that wonderful Saints game we had to sit through this year, he was crushing that Bayou joke.
so you were talking about how Mike likes to make the straw man arguments and how contradictory he can be. And Evan brought up, like, he just brings up Josh Allen. So this one, to me, was perfect. And, of course, no one said anything about it. So his big thing, he's sort of anti-talent. If you listen to Mike talk
Really?
about sports, he's not really interested in the shiny objects, right? He wants, the Wes Welker and Julian Edelman, slot guy over the Randy Moss, explosive player
I
on the
didn't know
outside.
that, but okay, that's
I
interesting.
like to say, I go,
Yeah.
that's because you're anti-talent. I say
Yeah.
it to him all the time. He had no interest in Caleb Williams,
Yep.
right, in this draft, as an example. And he's like, yeah, and you take a guy like Caleb Williams and you take all that goes with him, and then and I'm like, I don't know. Like, he's supposedly done very well in spring camps, and he's all signed and ready to go. Meanwhile, Mr. Intangible from Michigan is still unsigned, but whatever. Again, when you go, you're anti-talent. So
Mr. Intangible.
So this whole thing, he had no interest in Caleb Williams. He has no interest in the number 1 overall pick because he's anti-talent.
Yeah.
But it's an atrocity upon mankind that the USA basketball team wouldn't go with the best 12 players and have eliminated Jaylen Brown. And he thinks it's ridiculous. He's been on a rant about it for 3 days.
We need to get over the Jaylen Brown thing.
So-
I'm over it, and I literally
I have a take.
I literally bleed green. and
I have
I'm over it.
a take that has nothing, very, very little to do with Nike. Let's put it that way.
No, I have a take that does have kind of defends Nike, but go ahead.
But I'll just say, you can't have both of those thoughts. You're either, he just says it should be the 12 best players, period. You should have, well, why wouldn't you take Caleb Williams then?
right,
It should be the best quarterback. If you need a quarterback, you should want the best one,
right, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I'd also
But
push
I don't
back.
want Caleb Williams, even though he's more talented than the other guys, because I don't want all that goes with him. That's why Jaylen Brown's not on USA basketball.
That's exactly why.
Stephen A. Smith was right.
That's exactly why.
That's what the mindset about Jaylen Brown around the NBA is, what Stephen A. Smith said.
I feel like I should save my Jaylen Brown take for the next hour. 'Cause-
Okay.
Because
All
it's a
right.
whole thing.
Tease it.
But I would also just quickly, the 12. I disagree with his point that it should be the 12 best players, on
They have
raw
to fit.
talent.
They have to
It should be
fit.
the best team.
Yeah.
And based off of how FIBA is played, the 3-and-D wing player like Jaylen Brown is not necessarily what the other teams they're going to have to go up against. A lot of these other teams are built on guard play and bigs in the paint, so they've stacked the roster with Drew Holidays and Derek Whites and stuff like that. Because,
Why are we conforming to what other teams do? We're
See,
the best team.
But I would also say,
Because it's not an all-star team.
No,
They have to
no,
win
I
the
understand,
tournament.
but no
but,
matter
like,
how you're doing
who's
it,
gonna stop us?
Jaylen Brown should be one of your 12 players. No matter how, whether you're taking that into consideration or he's so much better than some of the guys in the team.
Like who?
Look, Drew Holiday and Derek White for 2.
But those guys are on the team for intangible reasons.
Right, which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but to suggest that I wouldn't take Caleb Williams because I'm not interested in the talent because of the baggage and ignore the baggage with Jaylen Brown is contradictory. I don't understand how Mike can make that comment. Of course, no one said anything about it because no one realizes that he just said something entirely the opposite 15 minutes earlier.
That's your gift, Paul. That's how
It is my gift.
Paul keeps
It's a
receipts.
curse and a
It's,
gift.
it's
keeps
wasted.
receipts.
It's wasted on the young.
Yeah.
Well, when they play Germany and Dennis Schroeder's tearing them apart like he did in FIBA, now they'll have multiple guards to throw at him that they can defend.
So you're
I don't
trying
know
to
what
tell
any
me
of
that
that means.
Jaylen Brown would not be capable of covering Dennis Schroeder?
Go look up the FIBA semifinals from 2 years ago.
I'm just
and
asking you a question. Do you think Jaylen
Was
Brown would
Jaylen
be
Brown
able
on
to
that
contain
team
him?
from
No,
2 years
he
ago?
was not.
Do you think
Okay, so
Jaylen
why are
Brown
we
would be able to
blaming
contain
Jaylen
him?
Brown
I'm not
and
blaming
I'm
him.
not
for a
try- I'm
game they
not-
lost
Who
2 years ago.
Who blamed him?
No, I'm not trying to be the guy that's holding a bake sale for Jaylen Brown. Whatever.
Yeah.
You want to be sort of abrasive.
Yeah.
Sometimes these things happen to you.
Right.
That to me is why he's not on the team. I don't think guys
I
like
agree.
him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think guys like him, and
Yeah.
they didn't really fight for him, and they didn't really care to have him on the team.
Yeah. No,
I agree with that.
But he's one of the better players, and he can do that stuff. I
Yeah.
mean,
All
there's
right.
no question in my
We'll
mind.
talk about that later because people want to input.
I'm really interested in your Jaylen Brown
Yeah.
take for the
Me
season.
too.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
set my alarm for that.
yeah.
Remind
I
me.
don't
I
know.
want to hear it too.
I'm interested.
We'll have
Oh,
to explain basketball to Deuce again, though.
Probably.
That
All right,
Schrader guy is tough. I heard.
Oh God, it was ridiculous.
855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. Mike's in Puerto Rico. Let's see. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Hey, Mike.
I heard you guys talking about meeting like heroes or celebrities a couple of episodes ago, and I didn't get a chance to call in. I was wondering if you'd be interested in a boxing story regarding somebody that I met, and then I have a question afterwards.
As long as it's short, I mean, yeah.
Well, short story. I was down in Puerto Rico in a casino while do you know the boxer Canelo Alvarez, the Mexican boxer?
No.
I do.
Okay, so he's the world champion. He's considered like one of the best pound for pound in a while. And short story, I walked into the casino. I was with my girlfriend, who is Mexican, who is actually from his hometown. And as I walk in, like I see him playing at the table, at a blackjack table. He's sitting there by himself. There's nobody else around, and he's playing four hands at the same time. And I walk over and I tell her, "Hey, that's Canelo. Let's go say hi or whatever." She shied away. She didn't want to. And then and she's like, "Oh, you should go play with it." And I'm like, "Are you kidding?" He was like maxing out on every single bet. He had four hands going, maxing out on every single bet. And blackjack is one of those things where if you do something wrong, you could mess up somebody else's hand. So obviously, I didn't want to do that. But I'm like, I'm just gonna go say hi, say I'm a fan or whatever. So I walked to the table, and again, he was just sitting there by himself. But then I made the mistake of actually just touching him on the shoulder just to say hi or whatever. And then the next thing I knew, like security just comes out of every single direction.
Oh, wow.
There is like 6 or 8 different people just coming up on me, and this guy is so cool, so mellow, so humble. He turns around, he's like, "It's okay, I got him." And then we just talked for a minute, told him about my girlfriend being from the city or whatever that he's from. And he's like, "Oh, come over and catch me outside and we can take a picture. We just can't do it in here because it's a casino." So I thought that was pretty cool. He was and I was a fan already, so that just took him to a different level, just how mellow and how.
What's this
humble he
guy's
was
name
about the
again?
whole
Canelo Alvarez.
And what weight class is he?
Saul. I think he's all the way up to middleweight by now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he
I
started
remember
at
as
the
a lightweight.
140.
I thought he was a light heavy. But yeah.
Nice.
He's good.
Well, that's a good story, Mike.
But he.
Yeah.
But he was like super mellow, super chill, and this one when he was on his way up. So he's pretty cool.
Did you get an autograph?
The question that I didn't, unfortunately, because by the time I went back and told my girlfriend the whole thing, and I came over, like security ushered him out. So yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to. But again, super cool guy.
All right.
And the question that I have for the group is based on something about what you guys were talking about earlier regarding Drake May. I'm of the belief that I think he should be put in right away. However, my question to you is, as he is playing, what do you think would be more helpful for his development? To put him out there and then just deploy an offense that is run heavy with mass protection and dump off, or run a regular offense with more options downfield, take advantage of his arm and his mobility, but then he's more susceptible to pressure, sacks, and potential injuries and maybe, quote unquote, like damaging his long-term development.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think the answer is you play the offense that you think gives you the best chance to win the game.
Yeah, I would rather see the second offense.
Yeah, and that usually is going to be the second offense. But if you come up against a team that has, the best secondary in the league, and you don't think, play to win the game. Have a game plan to win the game, whatever that is.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that I just want to be reckless and put him in harm's way as many times as I possibly can. When I heard, Mike went through the things yesterday, if it's 3rd and 17 on your own 20, maybe you're running a draw. I mean, I get it. You're not asking him to be Superman every play of the game,
Yeah.
But I want to run a conventional offense. I don't want to do what they did with Mac Jones his rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, if this system is working correctly, the way it should function, it's a very quarterback-friendly offense. That's why it's all over the league, and it's not necessarily going to ask him to be Superman and just make something happen. There's going to be a lot of play action involved. There's going to be a lot of moving pockets involved on 1st and 2nd down. So they're going to do things that are going to simplify it for the quarterback inherently, whether it's Jacoby Brissett or it's Drake May. So I wouldn't worry too much about he's at an empty and it's 3rd and 12 and they're just asking him to run around and make plays.
Eldred's in North Carolina. Hey, Eldred.
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that studio. I was playing that, but I didn't get a chance to get on. But got 3 questions for you. Okay. I heard through XM Radio, NFL Blitz,
Yeah.
there's a good left tackle that's coming available because when the Chiefs drafted this other guy, they drafted one this year.
Yeah.
The first guy that's holding down is going to get out because they're going to that youth. That came from Charles Davis and that other guy. And that came from inside chief source they really trust. Because the guy pushed better during training camp and whatever they did earlier. And so they are going with that youth movement. You know, that's what they're trying to do. So they were thinking the most they probably will act is a second or a third. But he's a starting left tackle, the one that started for the Chiefs last year. And he get pushed out by the 2 guys.
Do we have a name?
Donovan Smith, is that?
Is it
No, so Donovan Smith's a free agent. Are you talking about Jawan Taylor? Because like they have Wanya Morris, yeah, and they drafted Kingsley Sumatia, so they have 2 younger
that's the
tackles.
one that's coming up.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's the one that they're pushing.
yeah, so
What's his
Jawan
name?
Taylor,
I
maybe
remember the name.
Yeah.
if
Listen,
he's available.
Who was the guy they got from? It was actually a guy they got from the Brian Waters. Was that his name?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a
He
guard.
was
Patriots?
older, and
Yeah,
they brought him
2011.
in close. It was
Well,
during.
he was old.
He was old, but they brought him
really
in
good.
during camp, and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, Jawan Taylor, well, he graded out as one of the worst tackles in the league last year, actually. And everybody got on him for cheating because he would like leave on the snap early and like put his whatever. Point.
So he's not that good, you know.
Yeah. Point being, he's very expensive contractually. They paid him a free agent deal. I think it was last offseason, not this one, but last offseason. And they gave him a boatload of money with that McGlinchey, McGarry, Jawan Taylor class, and then he didn't play very well last year.
And didn't he play right tackle?
Yeah.
Or am I confusing him?
Yeah, so he might have played right tackle last year with Donovan Smith playing left, if I remember correctly, as well. But
But he can play left?
Maybe. I believe he played right tackle in Jacksonville also, but I'd have to double check.
I think
that.
that's what you need to do, is
But-
just bring in as many
no,
right
they did
tackles
the
as you
left
can.
tackle.
One of them should be able to
One of
play
them
left.
has to be able to
tackle.
play on the other side.
To play left tackle.
Yeah, he said the left tackle.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't think he's
Yeah.
played left tackle for the majority of his career, but that's where it's
Yeah.
it's
All right, Eldred. Thanks for the call. Good hearing from you. All right, we're going to take a break.
I also just would say,
Just my
like,
food's here.
good teams don't cut good players. Like,
Yeah.
Right, and a lot of these
if
other
he's not any good, then maybe they'll go with the youth movement. But
right, and Donovan Smith, these guys that people call in and ask about, like they're available to everybody, and a lot of teams need tackles. It's not just the Patriots.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's
right.
Yeah, so he was a career right tackle. I had it right in Jacksonville. He played on the right side, but I was a big fan of Kingsley Suamatias in the draft. So if he's somebody that can come out and start as a rookie, then conceivably. But like I said, they just paid Jawan Taylor a hefty amount of money in free agency. So you're looking at acquiring a player that's going to make like $16+ million to play here.
All right, time to take a break. When we come back, more calls and emails here on Patriots Unfiltered. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
What's up, everybody? Maddie here. Continuing with some snippets from our podcast series, Pats from the Past. Here's one from our episode with Romeo Crennel.
It's time for another episode of Pats from the Past podcast. Matt Smith and Paul Perillo. And who are we lucky to have today, Paul, but the great Romeo Crennel, who is here for the Hall of Fame weekend. Romeo, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It's great to be back. A lot of new additions and new things since I was last here. But I'm excited and had a chance to meet see some old guys. And it was all great.
So, I mean, Paul and I were talking about this beforehand, Romeo. What does it say about the quality of the people who were enshrined yesterday? And look, you're coming from New York, maybe not that big of a deal, but that's something that you didn't want to miss, did you? You know, to be able to be here to help contribute and honor the two people that the organization honored yesterday. That says about a lot what you must think of them.
Well, I do think a lot of both guys. You know, Dante, because I was coaching defensive line for a while, and then Dante coaches the offensive line. So in practice, you got that little, back and forth between the two groups, and so we always were competitive, but we understood the challenges that each of us had. And for him to do it in one place for as long as he's done it, that is unreal. It really is. And then Vrabel, we got him from Pittsburgh, and he basically was a backup at Pittsburgh, and he was looking for an opportunity, and we offered him a contract, and he came aboard, and he was playing that outside linebacker spot for us and coming off that edge and getting after the quarterbacks. But Vrabel is smart. He knows schemes. He knows offenses, and that helped make him the player that he was.
How was it coaching with him? Because was he on your staff
Sure.
in Houston?
Yeah. It's funny, Mike was coaching at Ohio State because he graduated from Ohio State. Then he was coaching at Ohio State. And then Billy O, had run into him here, and Billy O liked him. And so Billy O offered him a job. And he called me and asked me, what about pro coaching and what did I think and all of that. And I said, Mike, you got some things going for you. And in this business, you've been in this game, you know about pro football, and I think that if you come aboard, you'll be satisfied. And he came aboard, boom, right away people were trying to hire him away. He became the coordinator, and then the next year he became the head coach. And we see how he how he has improved that team and took them to the playoffs and all that. And so everybody in this business, coaching, you don't stay at the top forever. So sometimes what goes around comes around, and you have to deal with it. But the thing that he mentioned yesterday was that you always try to get better. You try to find ways to get better. And I know that he will do that as far as his team goes this year, and I think he'll have a great career.
So when you were coaching Mike, Mike was the guy that obviously always had all the answers. So I assume you guys sort of looked at him and said, you know what, he's always busting him, but he's going to be a coach someday. Did you always kind of look at him as that kind of a guy?
Well, he was like a coach on the field.
Right.
And so by him being able to be considered a coach on the field, I thought that at some point that if he chose coaching, that he would be a good coach.
Romeo, what was your, you don't have to limit it to one, when you look at your career in coaching, is there a person or people that you could say were tremendous influences on you, mentors if you would, that helped you along the way? I mean, what was it? Did you have 17 different stops as far as coaching? I'm looking at your wife over here, and that's a lot of packing up and moving, which is, I think a lot of people take for granted in professional. Oh, it's professional sports. It's really easy. And Mike mentioned it yesterday, how hard that can be on kids, Who are the people that maybe inspired you and that you want to give credit to as far as your coaching career is concerned?
Well, I think, first of all, I have to start with Coach Jimmy Fikes, who was at Western Kentucky, and I went to school there. I played for him, was the captain on the team, and he gave me my first job. And after my graduate assistant year, he hired me to be on the staff. And if not that, I was probably going to be a high school coach, And in this coaching business, you kind of get stuck on the stratosphere that you're in. And so by starting at the college level as opposed to the high school level, that allowed me to be able to elevate up the ladder. And so Coach Jimmy Fikes. And then I met Parcells while I was down there at Western on the recruiting trail. and ended up going to Texas Tech with Steve Sloan, and Parcells was his defensive coordinator. And then after a couple of years later, a couple more moves, we ended up in New York with the Giants.
So you had that whole group, and I always found this interesting. Just, it was the Giants. Then Parcells came to New England, and it was all you guys coming to New England, and then back to the Jets. And just how special was that group with, we all know all the names with you and Charlie, that iconic photo. We'll get to that, I think, later too, with you and Bill. But that must have been a pretty special group that you guys were a part of with the Giants.
Well, it was, and I should have mentioned Belichick also, and those guys who had the influence. But Belichick and I, we worked in the same office. He was a special teams coach to start with, and I was a quality control. And then when Ray Perkins left the Giants, Parcells became the head coach. Parcells didn't give him the coordinator title. He said, "You'll run the defense, but I'm not going to give you the title yet." But Bill ran the defense, and then I took over special teams for him. And so because of the time we were together, I think you developed that strong bond. And so I think we have a strong bond, that group that you're talking about.
That must have been, and I would think, as we're talking about all the moves that you've made and the different groups that you're with, I have to assume it was a challenging time for you when Bill Belichick came here to New England after the 96 season when he became the head coach here. You're with a group with the Jets, and are we going to go here with Bill? How are we going to do that? That must have been a hard decision for you to do because you're leaving some people behind, but you're going with another really good group. What was that period in life like for you, Romeo?
Well, you know what? When those things happen and when they occur, you have to sit down and you have to look at the landscape, all right? Who's working at different places, and I took a couple of interviews. Went out to San Diego and interviewed with those guys, and I knew a guy out there, and he told me how good the weather was and all of that kind of stuff. But when it got down to it, and Belichick called me and secured the position with him, then I knew where I wanted to be.
If you look back, Romeo, at all the great battles that you were involved in here, the championships that were won, your career primarily on the defensive side of the ball, and during your head coaching career, was there a scheme or a team or a group of players that you can mark and say, these guys kept me up at night more so than the rest? I think we romanticize some of the Colts games from the early 2000s and how difficult they were to play. But is there somebody that particularly sticks in your mind, like, how am I going to stop these guys?
Well, Peyton Manning, for what, he fell into that category. His rookie year, he kind of took a beating the first half of the season, but Peyton had such a command of that offense, and he was always able to get the players to rally around him and sometimes exceed their abilities, and he was always a challenge because he knew offense, he knew defense, he could check, and so he was one that I always enjoyed playing, but a little concerned the night before.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no!
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
And now, great moments in history.
I know he's a friend of the show, but the pre- and post-game shows have become largely about soothing or feeding Hardy's ego, and he offers little actual information about the team or the game. It's so frustrating. Wow.
Oh, we should bring this
That's
up. That's
entirely inaccurate.
Yeah, Hardy. I don't know if Hardy has an ego.
He has the
I think if
smallest
anything,
ego in this room.
I think if anything, he's got inferior complex.
Yes,
Inferiority
I would
complex.
agree.
Yeah. He's a very busy guy. He's got 98.5. Then he does Sirius. He's got the music show. So
He's got golf.
yeah,
A lot of golf.
the golf show that he does.
Golf show.
But he gets free stuff for that, so I'm a little jealous.
No,
Did
he
you get
took-
those clubs?
He took care.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Custom PXG clubs.
He
Yeah.
gave you clubs?
No.
Oh,
He got those. He got free.
yeah. And I got his leftovers.
Oh, did you?
He said he gave me a set of irons.
Nice.
Ooh.
What kind?
I don't know. I didn't look at him yet.
Said
You don't even look at them?
No, we just the other night when we were leaving, he put them in my trunk.
Oh. So you're not even curious to what they are?
No, I'll look at them when I get a chance.
I would want to know what kind of clubs I got.
I got some new clubs. I got to fill
Aren't
them
you
out.
excited? Look at you,
Feel
so
the
blasé.
I've been working on
new
my
set of
torque
irons.
lately.
Just rolling around in the back of his car.
Right.
Oh, they're in a bag, idiot.
I'd want to know, like, are they Callaways? Are they Pings?
I expect that from him, not you. I expect more out of you.
You know? Like, I'd be excited to get a new set of irons.
Mike, how's your putting?
That's another great moment from
Patriots Unfiltered.
It's easy to drink. It's easy to enjoy. You know what I'm talking about. Bud Light. It's the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. And also, has your work from home space turned into an everything from home space? Do you have a work from home space, Paul?
I don't, Fred. I am not rich.
No. Deuce?
I'm not rich.
I have a counter that I put my laptop on, if
Yeah.
that counts.
Evan?
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Second bedroom.
Find furniture that fits your life, your budget, and your living space thanks to Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop tons of on-trend, small space-friendly styles like Bob's do-it-all dining sets, smart storage, and small footprint sectionals that can take you all the way from midday meeting to happy hour in no time. So stop into your local store and multitask stylishly with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. So good.
So, Fred, when you were doing that read, you mentioned all the way to happy hour. Are you aware that Massachusetts may lose its status as the lone state
Love it.
in the United States?
Love it.
Absolutely.
That will not allow.
Yeah,
they're thinking of bringing back happy hour.
Bring
So
back
Paul,
I can't
happy
think of
hour.
a better idea.
Happy
yeah.
hour is when there's some deals on the drinks.
Right.
Open bars when they're free. So this is just going to be
You know
deals.
this one. He makes fun of me.
Right.
When we go to the
Because you've
combine.
never lived outside of Massachusetts.
No, when we go to the combine.
Yes.
We stay usually at the Embassy Suites.
You know,
Oh,
you've been
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And they have.
I know.
Sorry, I call it happy hour, but Mike corrects me. He says, "No, that's open bar."
Oh,
It's big- it's
you
big
get
difference.
tickets. Gotta get
Right
the
now,
ticket.
it's ticket. It's
If
a
you stay
ticket-based
there,
system.
you can get you get tickets and you get a couple of free drinks, which
Yeah.
is great.
It's a great
little perk.
It's a great little.
But I call it happy hour, and
pregame
Mike goes,
to
"I don't
the
think you
night."
know how it works."
Well, I was ready to pay. I'm like, what do I owe you? She's like,
Happy
"No,
hour
no.
is drink specials.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny though. I mean, that was what in the 80s or 90s?
84.
84.
84.
So I was
Exact
not
year.
even aware.
Paul knows.
Yeah, right.
Right
How old
before
were
I
you
could
that
dark
time?
day
right
in
before I
Paul's
could
I
take
was
advantage of
17 and it was the worst.
That's like 16.
16.
Yeah. All right, so that's coming back.
But it looks like it's coming back. You
You
never
have
know. In
apps,
Massachusetts, it probably would be
Yeah.
like
Well, that's
by
what
the year 2030, they'll do it.
That's what Massachusetts did when they banished the happy hour. They replaced it with like app specials.
Right.
You know, so 2-for-1 apps
Well,
or
they better
half
not
price
get
apps.
rid of that. They got to keep
I
the
know.
apps going.
Yeah.
Where are
Well,
my
usually
apps?
the happy hour is both, right? Like
Right.
there's like
Yeah.
a happy hour menu that
They
has-
run.
Right.
Yeah, they run
Yeah.
together.
Do you think it'll help business? Because it doesn't seem like bars are hurting these days.
Oh yes.
Oh, they
Down-
are?
downtown. Yeah.
Oh,
Unfortunately.
downtown. Yeah.
We got some.
Boston
Well, no one works anymore downtown.
Boston is struggling.
Yeah, they
got
need
some
people.
staples
They
that
need people
closed
first
recently.
before they can fill up the
Well,
bars.
maybe you can get some people if you entice
But around
them
here,
into-
like I was, it was a Thursday after work, and I was down in Hyannis, and I went to this place. It's a Mexican place, and it's got the big tree in the back, and the place was packed. It was all people after work drinking.
I imagine
So-
Patriot Place would be pretty good for happy hour then. Like, you know, seems like a good spot.
Yeah.
especially-
Oh yeah, that Bar Louie in the
Yeah.
summer, that place is
Get people,
mobbed.
huh?
They got the roof deck and everything.
What do you get, like a bucket of Coronas or
Yeah.
something for like, or sorry, Bud Light, bucket of beers.
So I'm just
for
wondering if happy
$5.
hour is going to bring more people than they already have. I
yeah,
don't know.
I think that they were worried about sort of the rise in drunk driving.
Correct.
Well, at the time,
At the
absolutely,
time.
that's why they did it.
And then other states have brought it back and have not seen any significant change
Right.
in the drunk driving rates. So
Yeah. You want
again, it's 49 out of 50 states do it
You
one
want to
way,
know the
and
biggest
Massachusetts has to be the
contributor to
outlier.
accidents these days?
Oh,
It's
there
the
it is.
phone.
Sure.
You know, I was talking to an insurance guy, and I was saying, you know, you would think with all these safety features the cars have now, you know,
Ooh.
detection of
Yeah.
cars near you and all that stuff, that accidents and especially fender benders are down, and so claims should be down. When are our premiums going to go down? He goes, no. He goes, claims are still up, and it's because of the phones. People not paying attention because of the
That's
phone.
just what the big insurance companies want you to believe.
Probably. But at some point, shouldn't all these safety features reduce claims and thus reduce our premiums.
It's so annoying. Did your cars have like all these like different bells and
Yeah.
whistles?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Every time you accidentally like look the wrong way and it makes you. I when I get a new car, I'm gonna be like, I don't want any of that stuff. I just want a basic.
Well, you know
car.
you can turn it off.
I don't want.
Oh, yeah.
Can you turn it off?
Yeah.
Some
Like
of
the,
it, but,
the
like,
lane change
lane
thing.
assist.
Yeah,
Where it's
you
like
lane assist
you
is
accidentally
annoying.
touch the line and all of a sudden
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
things
Well,
shake.
you can turn that
That
off.
you can turn off.
Auto
Yeah.
brake.
Yeah.
I'm like Bill. I can't change the clock yet. I'm barely messing with the functions of the driving of the car.
I can't figure out.
And like Trico's like,
I just feel like in other places, like when I lived in New York, the happy hour was huge because you just jump on the subway. Like you're not getting behind a wheel ever, so you don't
Right.
have to worry about that. But in Boston, so many people drive to work and stuff like that that I think that was why we haven't had happy hour for so long, is because the public transportation isn't as major as it is in a city like New York, where you go to happy
Ubers
hour
and
and
stuff
then
now,
you
like,
just
It is flawed too.
Yeah.
Like if you're someone who's gonna have some beers and get behind the wheel. Well, I was only going to do that because I was saving money on the beers.
right.
Like now that I have to pay full price for the beers, I'm no longer going to do that. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
a
You
flawed.
have to play for an Uber
premise.
to get home though. That's where they're gonna make up the price difference.
yeah, but then you got to leave your car and then it's
Yeah,
That's
so
the whole thing.
Forget it.
Then it's a whole
bad
thing.
deal.
So if
Bad
they
deal.
can prove that people love happy hour because it saves them money rather than they can drink more, then the safety issue is the same.
yeah.
They're just saving money. They're not drinking more.
I would say the bars in Boston, though, COVID just
Killed them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
destroyed like
COVID
so many
killed.
good bars, like on like the Boylston area and stuff like that, just just gone because of COVID.
And even
So-
the ones that survived, I feel like it's just 90% of the restaurants are not the same anymore. And I mean, half the time I just feel like sometimes you go to a nice place and it's professional waiters and you're like, this is. But if you go to one of those other kind of mid-range places, it's kind of depressing. Like it just feels like it's
And
hanging on by a string.
A lot of those places are having a hard time fielding a workforce. They can't get people. They can't get
That's
employees.
the thing. It's getting good workers.
Because everybody in COVID found out that they could work from home, and now no one wants to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm only going
Right,
to work from
right,
home.
These kids.
It's everybody. It's not just kids.
My niece got an internship at a bank. I can't mention it because it's a competitor to one of our sponsors. $70,000. She's just out of college.
Wow.
Like, why would you need to be a waitress or a bartender if you're making $70,000 at
Or
a
talk show host
Wow.
or a reporter.
No, I couldn't believe it.
That's pretty crazy.
Or a producer. I see Matt with his palms in the air.
Like, it's nuts. Anyway, Travis in West Virginia writes in at webradio@patriots.com. It's hard to get used to your new studio arrangement.
I agree.
It reminds me of the Seinfeld episode where Jerry has his kitchen remodeled and it makes everyone uncomfortable. Remember that one?
I don't remember
The
that
cabinets were too low, so you had to like.
I
And
don't
he had the
remember
carpenter
that
that always. It's the one where George has his desk rearranged at the Yankees. You don't remember that? And then there was a bomb threat.
I'm going to have to figure this one out. Sounds like a good one. I don't know why I
It
can't
was a good
remember
one. And yes, Josh Allen is overrated. My main reason for feeling that way is because the things he excels at that amaze everyone are not reliable in crunch time. In other words, rolling out of the pocket for 15 seconds and slinging the ball 60 yards downfield is not something you can just dial up at any time and guarantee success. Also, Paul, he's a dopey guy, and that matters a lot.
Why has he been so good in crunch time then?
How many times does he roll out for 50 seconds and haul
I
out?
was gonna say, do we
Oh,
watch
geez,
Josh
I
Allen or
know.
do we watch the
Especially, like,
highlights?
against the Patriots?
Yeah.
I just that would be my one question. If he's not reliable in crunch time, why is he so good in crunch time? That would be my
I
one
looked up his
question.
playoff stats when we were talking about him, but then we moved on. In his 10 playoff games, he's 21-4 touchdown.
Is
Is
that good in crunch time?
21-4
in the playoffs?
Now
I knew it was good, but
usually against good
you're
teams,
more
too.
of a numbers guy than me, but is that good in crunch time?
Wait,
if playoffs consider
how much
crunch
of that
time?
came against the Patriots in 2021, though?
Fair point.
A chunk. But yeah, no, his playoff
7
numbers
touchdowns.
are actually really good, though.
Yeah.
I knew that. The turnovers, especially, he cuts down a lot on the turnovers
Because
in the
people
playoffs.
just look at the wins and losses, and to me, it's the most flawed way to look at any quarterback.
Because you look at one play, 2 plays that
But-
decide those games.
And I thought, and I have my differences with Orlovsky in some of his takes sometimes, but he did make a really strong argument. Like, you're really talking about like 3 plays would dramatically change your entire perception of Buffalo and Allen specifically. And I just don't think that that's the difference between greatness and overrated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, you want to say he's not as good as people think, so maybe that makes him overrated by definition. Okay, maybe then I would say the same about Mahomes. And I think Mahomes is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like way better than Josh Allen based on the amount that he's been able to win. But I just don't look at it as, well, they lost that game, so it's on him.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a little bit, actually, Paul. Is like it's hard to extract like what you really know about a team versus just situationally what happened in a game with like 2 or 3 plays. Like, does that define who the teams are, or is it more kind of the body of the work? And like looking back at the Patriots teams the last couple of years, I mean, there are specific examples, but just kind of an undisciplined team, like those traits that kind of continually pop up. Whereas you want to highlight one AFC Championship game and like define a player by that performance. It's
like
hard
even
to
if
do.
you want to take a silly, like one silly regular season game, because we're talking about the Patriots, the game that the Patriots beat them last year.
Yeah,
they're down 2 touchdowns with 7 minutes left in the game. He rallies them to 2 touchdowns and then watches his defense allow Mac Jones, who can't go from here to there without falling down, to drive 80 yards, 75 yards
Ramondre got
for a game-winning touchdown. But I'm just saying, like, that's Josh Allen's fault?
Right.
Like, he scores twice in the last, 3.5 minutes of the game. Now, admittedly, one of them was off a turnover. They had a short field. But it's not his fault that the defense then went out and allowed Mac Jones to go 75 yards and throw a touchdown pass with less than 10 seconds left.
Sounds like you're coming over to the QB wins or a fake
I
Fugazi
listen,
side of the street, which I appreciate.
I think Fugazi, it's actually Fugazi,
Fugazi.
but I think that's a little bit strong. But yeah, I don't think wins and losses, I don't think quarterback record per se is a sole indication of whether or not the guy can play.
Yeah.
I would, you'd need to watch the games.
Gotta
and see
watch
how
the
much,
game.
See how much the guy play.
course.
Some guys just find a way to win games, and it's not an accident. Tom Brady's at the top of that list.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an accident that sometimes you just kind of would meander along in a game, and then the game's on the line, and he was balls with the game on the line.
And he does it
every time,
over
every
and over
time,
again, and he repeats that.
So the record for him, to me, is not misleading. There are other guys that, you look at them and you're like, how does he have such a good record? He's really not all that good.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
That's a good example. I'll think of it. There's another guy who has a surprisingly good record, and you're like, I can't believe his record is that good.
Damon Hewitt.
No, Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky's career record is way better than you think it is. And I think he kind of stinks.
Oh, he definitely kind of stinks.
Yeah.
Josh and Turner's Fall, you guys are the absolute best podcast or show for any sport, and I appreciate all you do for the fans.
Thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, that reminds me, thank you to all our friends on Reddit. It's been called to my attention that there was a survey about which Patriots podcast was out there, and by far, people chose this one. So thank you to our Reddit followers. Reddit, that's REDDITT, Paul.
Is it 2 T's?
No, 1 T.
Oh, it's just 1 T?
1 T. 1 T.
You Google
2
it.
D's, 1 T.
You'll get there.
When you're being smug and condescending, you should have
get
the
it right,
accurate information.
Let's see. Lots of emails.
It's the hard part of the hosting when you got to call an email out, but you got to hit a little lull, and you're like, oh crap, I need a good one quick, and then you're like,
and you don't have a
come
desk,
on,
you don't have
guys,
a
what
desk
do we
to have
got?
your equipment on.
Speaking of Fresno, Fred seems invigorated by the new studio. I like it already. The place gives after-party vibes. Could imagine a Hooters waitress bringing you guys wings and beers any minute. We'll take
Now
a
you're
little
selling me.
take a little minute to get used to, but easier to endure than Todd's griping. Wasn't too long ago that the PFW dinosaurs scoffed at the idea of video. Just look at you now, all grown up, and in some cases grown out. Yeah, that's true. Anyway,
just so you know, I still hate video.
Anyway, how likely is this scenario? Patriots win something in the vicinity of 0-4 games this year, and it doesn't look good, meaning blowouts, and May looks lost. So Kraft has some behind-the-scenes chats with Mayo, acknowledging there's a long leash, but we need to see this thing turning around sooner than later. So the 2025 season reveals a very different Mayo, more intense, less collaborative, more cutthroat, less player-friendly, dare I say more Belichickian. There's an interesting question of whether Mayo's tightening up like that might ultimately be good for the team. I'm rambling here, but maybe there's a pendulum swing we're in the midst of, from the old autocratic regime to a new inclusive style and eventually back again. So what do you think?
Not under Mayo.
No, if he did that, he'd be gone in 2026. I mean, you got to be who you are. And, I mean, I like who Gerard Mayo is. He's definitely different than Bill. And I'm hopeful that, some of these adjustments and some of the change in approach is going to resonate a little bit more with some of these younger players, and that when we get into the season next year, we see a team that's all kind of pulling together and, seems locked in the big moments. And I think that was unfortunately something that slipped over the last couple of years, that this was not a team that, was ready to not beat themselves, I guess. I mean, I think this team beat themselves as much as other teams beat them over the last couple of years. And that's the biggest indictment, I think, of how it all went down.
I just think some of that stuff's a little overblown. Like that. Okay, so he tells us that somebody's injured, and Bill might not have told us that player was injured.
I don't think that's what he's talking about.
Or like the locker room is like a little looser, or something like that, or it's more player friendly. Like the bottom line is if they get talented players and they win more football games, then it's going to look better. Like regardless of if Gerard Mayo's attitude is different than Bill's, I just don't really think that's going to be what is going to determine his success or failure as a head coach in the league. What's going to determine that is the 53 guys they have on the roster.
But I would say that there is a pendulum that tends to swing between player coach and disciplinarian. Yeah. That's very common. It will not, I don't think, swing with the same guy. I think if Mayo, this is not like an experiment. This is how Mayo believes you need to operate.
I hope how he is now is who he is.
No, but I think that he feels like with today's athletes, you need to embrace them first before you ask them to run through a wall. And I think that's not going to suddenly change if it's like 4-13 in year one.
Yeah.
And he's just going to say, no, I tried to coddle them last year. It didn't work. Next year, I'm going to have them run through walls I don't think it will work.
It
like
won't work.
No way. No question.
I am interested to see how they run training camp, though, because nowadays, there's obviously rules in place from the CBA that they can't do certain things and stuff like that. But notoriously speaking, Andy Reid has one of the hardest training camps in the NFL every single year. And not that but that is the team you're chasing. Everybody's chasing the Chiefs, and he's doing it in a more old school way. Like they have some just very famous drills and things like that they do that you listen to the Kelsey brothers talk about it on their podcast. And Travis Kelsey's like, Andy Reid's practices are brutal, even harder than the games in some instances. And you just wonder if this type of coach, not saying Gerard's necessarily going to be that. I'm curious what is Gerard going to do, and is it going to be a hard camp, or is it going to be an easy camp?
And I'm glad you said that, because I think that Andy Reid is by most definitions a player-friendly coach.
He's looked at that way.
But he does have old school values. He's been around a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that he operated a lot of the things that he did much like Bill did before. Now, I think Bill sort of, as they struggled post-Brady, started to try to adapt a little bit and cater some of the things. And there was a lot of criticism. Fred, your guy, Bedard, see how I did that?
Oh,
just call him his guy.
Your
guy, Bedard, has been really outspoken against how easy camp has been for the Patriots the last couple of years. Club Med. Remember he was talking, they're not practicing enough. They're not in pads enough. They're not working hard enough. I don't know if that's true or not, but it is interesting to hear people talk about Andy Reid in Kansas City saying their training camps are every bit as hard as they always were.
Yeah, and just what Evan said too is what you always heard about Bill, that the practices were harder than the games. So I do think that there's the tone of the practice and how it kind of feels, and as a man, do we get to those dog days of summer, and does the grind start? Do we start to feel the grind a little bit for the team? It'd be interesting, because it's easy to be that kind of player's coach and that, but especially early on, having to stamp down and really get these guys ready to play.
I just feel like some of these coaches that are doing it the new way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like teams get to December and January, the team's kind of soft.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Miami. It's great that your coach is like this nerdy cool guy. Like, trust me, it's great. But then you get into the playoffs and they get punched in the mouth and they can't do anything.
Yeah, and I do wonder, because I think there are a lot of teams that sort of do it, quote unquote, the new. I think Philadelphia is one. When we were out there for joint practices, Mike, we were both like, wow.
Yeah, they're like
There was
like
an hour and,
hour and
15
like
minutes.
in and out.
Like,
yeah.
And they worked hard during that time, but they strongly believed in it, which is why I brought up earlier about the night practice. I was wondering if maybe there was something to do with that. Sirianni clearly believes in getting the players off their feet, working hard, but in a shorter amount of time. And that's something they've embraced. Now, initially it worked wonderfully. Last year, Evan might be right. Like they completely fell apart. I don't know if that's because they ran out of gas. I think they might have gotten. I think they were kind of lucky to be 10-1 when they were. They won a couple of fluky games, and all of a sudden you continue to play like that, and you're not winning the game at the end. And they weren't really even a good team when they went into the playoffs. They got manhandled.
John in Seattle says, I wanted to give a thank you to Evan for talking about the ATN podcast on Tuesday's show. What's ATN?
Around the NFL.
Around the NFL. Okay.
Yep.
ATN and Patriots Unfiltered are my two constant podcasts, and the alternating episode release schedules allowed me to have nonstop football content throughout the year. ATN will be missed. Question. Bill would often say that off-season is a time for teaching. In your experience, whether it be a couple of years or the entire run of the dynasty, what is something that working for the Patriots has taught you?
Jeez. I feel like we're at like a TED Talk or something. Like, what?
Got anything, Paul?
For me?
Yep.
Like, no, I think. I think that Bill's talking about the team, right? I mean, Bill doesn't like have seminars with us.
I think he means us.
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
Do you?
Well, I mean, obviously Bill didn't teach us anything because he's not our supervisor or coach, but like just working,
looking at you, supervisor,
working in the NFL, working for the Patriots. Like
did you learn anything?
Yeah, did you learn anything?
Like just how like NFL teams operate, but that was like 10 minutes into year one.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how we operate, you know?
I think I've learned over the years that, you know, even though we're not on the field playing and all that, and you don't have to be a football fan to work here, I think it really helps. I think it really helps if you enjoy the NFL and football, and if you're a Patriots fan. I think that helps in my experience.
Yeah, I say that to people. I'm sure everybody gets the people that like reach out and ask for career advice or something like that. But you can't, in my opinion, do this job because of how labor intensive it can be during football season if you don't really love sports and love football. Because when it gets into week 17 or whatever, it's Christmas, and you were in Denver and they're here doing the show on Christmas Eve, and you are just kind of like doing it to collect the paycheck, then I don't think you're going to be in it for the long haul. And that's not like to offend anybody. It's just if you're going to do this, you got to think about that.
And the other thing, it's a hell of a lot better working here when you're winning.
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a playoff win yet.
I think that the stuff that
playoffs
that you guys mentioned are kind of, I think they're factual without question. I just like when you go from I took the question as like you go from year to year, like what's changing, what are you learning, how do you sort of I guess maybe I could say like just with the advent of all the social stuff, I'm learning more about that.
Yeah.
Like
Reddit.
We were talking about the guy that poked fun at the dinosaurs about video.
Yeah.
I understand that everybody has video. I kind of push back at I've never been in my life someone who wants to do things because everybody else is doing them. And unfortunately that's the way of the world now. Everybody's doing it, so if you're not doing it, you're getting left behind.
Yeah. Well, that's business sometimes.
But that's like sort of I would say that the last maybe 10 years we've really changed.
The key is to be the first
coverage.
to do it.
Again, that's what I say all the time.
bucket.
I need to go to a meeting where someone tells me what's going to be really big next year, not what was really big last year. Yeah. I don't need anybody to do that. I have any bean counter can tell me what worked last year. I need to have someone be cutting edge and tell me what's going to be the next big
What's
thing.
coming.
And then let's do it as well as we can.
Let's get ahead of it.
I was thinking a little bit more about it, though, of just like what have I learned having watched up-close football for 5 years, 5 seasons now. And, I mean, kind of the stupid little one that came to mind is just I think as a fan, you get really excited about undrafted free agents, undrafted rookies, and 6th and 7th round draft picks. And I think like part of watching so many of those guys is you realize how rare it is that you really find a special player in that group. And, like every year when we do the roundup of the UDFAs, you're like, which guy could it be? And, and they certainly have a record of those guys making it, but it's, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm jaded more now, but it's like you realize when you see these guys out there in camp, the impression that you kind of get out, it's usually who they are. It's not like you're going to get out there and see some guy who isn't really getting it, or and then they're going to be a star. Like with N'Keal Harry, like from the minute we watched him, and I didn't even see him in OTAs. I got him in training camp, but like that's a guy who, as a fan, you're like, first round pick. He looks pretty good. Was I totally on board with the pick? Not really, but man, I mean, look at him. He looks the part. And then you start to see him play, and it's like, this guy can't play. Like what, and then it gets into the thing of like, well, what did the scouts see? Like, what did Bill see? Like, if I'm sitting here as a guy who, admittedly has watched a lot of football, but has never been formally trained to really look at the nuances. Like, if I'm seeing this guy can't play within 5 minutes, like, how are these scouts that are coming out here how did my draft pick that I was pounding the table for do? Though that's kind of like what has been interesting to me is really just the volume of getting to see all these practices and over the years, and you really, start to develop this whole catalog of players that you've seen or that, things that you've been missing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, along those lines, because I couldn't agree more. You also start to learn about not overrating guys like those types of players too quickly and like getting too attached to. I always go back to poor Maurice Harris, right? Like my first year covering training camp and OTAs, like the whole off season, he had a great spring and everybody was talking about him as a guy, and he didn't even end up making the team. Like it wasn't even close. And so you just start to learn to be like maybe a little bit more patient with your takes of like, okay, let's see this like in the dog days of training camp, if you will, or
I mean,
anything.
The opposite is true though too. Like with like a guy like Onwenu, like you start to notice a guy is starting to play. You're seeing him out there a lot with the the first few reps or whatever's going on. This guy's out there. They're trying him out at different places. Like those things are still true to me. That all right, there's something brewing there, but. Getting excited about every, Tom, Dick, and Harry they pull off the scrap sheet. It's
right.
You can't really do it anymore.
Yeah. Earlier in the show, one of our listeners said that the new set reminds him of the Seinfeld episode where Seinfeld had his kitchen remodeled.
I can't believe that I'm so far behind.
I can't either.
This.
Another emailer, this is Chris from Arizona, says it reminds him of a different episode on Seinfeld, the one where
I know this one,
the Merv Griffin set.
Right.
The
that
Merv
one
Griffin
Jerry
set.
Seinfeld,
Elaine Bennis.
That was one of the greatest episodes ever.
Oh, yeah.
I laughed the first time I saw that, like out loud, several times.
Some of the things, like Kramer's, like physical comedy and like over the top. Like
some of the best episodes are his dementia,
but kind of never really like
it's
like I mean I get what he's doing, but like some of the quirky ideas, like remember when he put like the garbage disposal in his shower, and he's like making a salad.
Salad. Like the little, like he goes into these fantasy worlds,
and he goes in like when he had a job, and he's like, "We're gonna have to let you go. I don't really even work here." He goes, "That's what makes it so difficult."
Right? Or the one where it's a, how like sometimes the show starts and there's like a little segment before the commercial. This one was what happens in Jerry's apartment. What does Kramer do in Jerry's apartment when Jerry's not there? And it's a whole thing. Like he takes apart the phone. He's rearranging the furniture. He's yelling at the guy in the street, "Come on up here and say it." And then the guy's banging on the door. And then Jerry comes home and Kramer's just falling asleep on the couch and everything's back to normal. And Jerry just sees the coaster in the wrong place. Like, oh, come on. Like he has no idea what happened in his apartment while he was gone. You don't remember that either?
No, I do.
Oh, okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
All right.
Those are the things about Kramer that, like Kramerica.
Yeah.
He has his intern.
Another great one.
Jared.
Yeah.
Like when he comes in,
by the way, Elaine's going to be joining us for lunch. Elaine, when did this happen? Darren!
Darren. I would not have been able to come up with the name. Darren.
The actor's Jared. The Kenny Rogers roaster chicken.
That
one.
Did you catch the humble brag there?
It's the one where it's like he comes
There
like a
was
werewolf. Like
there was
shave his chest or something.
There was a very subtle brag there.
I don't know. There's a lot of good
What's
ones.
the actor's name?
Jared.
It was
He was also a writer,
Did you catch
actually.
the subtle humble brag?
I know the inside.
Yeah.
I worked in L.A.
He's a
I was
writer.
in the industry.
Jared
I know
Paul.
that.
Jared Paul. Look it up.
There it is.
Guarantee.
Yeah.
He was a writer too.
Basis.
We worked a little
But
bit. I was excited.
We've collaborated.
Yeah.
Remember the intern we used to, Lynn Ostrowski. Were you here
Yeah,
when she was here?
yes.
Her
I know who that
friend was the guy who wrote Soup Nazi.
Oh yeah.
Spike.
Spike Ferriston.
Yeah.
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 Spike.
Another humble
did
brag.
a show with him too. Yeah.
Got a
I did
coffee
show
with
him.
Spike once.
I did a show with him. Oh, by the way, I finished Acolyte.
Oh yeah, we
Terrible.
haven't finished yet. But
I thought it was good.
it's okay.
It was
No, you
good.
didn't.
Okay.
No, you didn't.
8 episodes.
Morel?
No, I did.
Yeah.
What don't you
Even
like
Matt
about
didn't like it.
horrible.
Why was it horrible?
Just
Oh, no.
overproduced.
Oh no, I haven't
Just
finished yet. I don't know.
Terrible acting. Just terrible. Just
Well,
Too
all of
teenagey.
these Star Wars things, the acting isn't what you're watching it for. Let's
it's
face
just-
it,
it's
right?
Just garbage.
You know?
It's
Matt,
got-
I think if you want
it's
to
too
talk now,
much.
you're going to have to talk on the air because we have no other way to hear you.
Oh right.
You guys not hear me in there?
Oh, I can
Yeah, we
hear you
can hear
now.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
I don't know. I enjoyed it. It wasn't great, but it was enjoyable. You know, and I'm curious to see if they go somewhere with it. Chris also says, I can't wait to play as Paul Perillo from Everett in Road to Glory in the new Madden. I don't know what that's about.
So the college football one came out.
Don't even get me started.
No. Yeah. What? Whoa! I got to hear this. We got to take over here. What?
It just
Sorry, Paul. You hijacked it, but
That's okay.
no. You go first.
My son's
have they been rocking
friend
it?
is in it.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
for the Penn
For
State.
Penn
kid?
State,
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Does he get any
Does
money?
he
on
get
that?
money for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot? Like life-changing
I
money?
don't. I wouldn't say life-changing
It's
money, and he kind of comes from money, so I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
So it doesn't even
But
matter.
It would need a lot to change his
It's
life.
it's significant, and the thing that was really and he tore his Achilles, unfortunately.
Oh, God.
But
in the game or in real life?
in real life.
Okay.
But the thing that's significant for him is like they have like the starters for everybody, and then it's only like the top, I think 65 players or something like that are in it, and he's in it.
Yeah.
Like as an incoming freshman with a torn Achilles, like that's not bad.
That's crazy.
That's really
So
good.
they have designs on him.
So is the game
Although
good?
It's
Is
funny.
it-
I haven't played the game yet, but it's funny. It doesn't have it. The pitcher is not him. It's like an AI.
Oh, it never. I mean,
thing.
even the Patriots barely look like them.
Well,
like,
I always thought that was by design because
Yeah.
Bill just said no.
no, sometimes they're exact, and then other
And
times it's like
his,
that.
his hometown is like where the school that he ended up going to is Brookline.
That's pretty fun.
Because he transferred from Fenwick to Dexter Southfield, so his hometown is listed as Brookline, not Boxford.
Oh.
Okay.
But pretty cool to have like your son's friend.
You kidding me?
I know.
In one of those games.
I made myself in Madden once.
That's a
It was
flex,
pretty fun.
as
It's
they
pretty
say.
cool.
Yeah, he's a good kid too.
That's a flex. Give him
Liam
his
Andrews
flowers,
is his
you know,
name.
the
If
whole
anybody, cares.
What does the depth chart look like Penn State? If you're a freshman, are you like, well, I'm the 7th tackle right now? Like, is that how
I think he's
crazy
five
it is?
on the defensive end,
It's crazy.
but not like one defensive end, like
fifth
so
one.
two, and 3.
Him, yeah.
I think
Alright, not
one of
too
those
crazy.
deals.
Nice.
But he's not going to play this year,
No.
unfortunately.
Adam in Louisiana.
You've been there. You give him some tips.
Yeah. Fred is absolutely right about the phones causing wrecks now. I drive 20 minutes to and from work every day, and I constantly see at least 10 people
Me
per
too.
trip on their phone driving. They end up sitting in the passing lane going 10 miles an hour under the speed limit. The worst one I saw was a guy watching a video while driving.
Yeah, see, that's different. I don't mind if people are on the phone talking, and I know you're supposed to be hands-free now,
Yeah.
but it doesn't bother me if you're having a conversation and you're driving. It's when you're looking at the.
Oh, yeah.
He's right. I see people blatantly looking at their phones as they're driving, and I'm like, get away from me.
A lot of bad drivers out there.
Bad caddying.
Bad caddying.
Yeah. David in Wisconsin, would you consider moving your NFL picks you make on Thursdays to Patriots.com and opening them up to listeners? Beat the Patriots Unfiltered staff over the season and get a PU T-shirt.
Maybe.
Little fan engagement.
I don't know. You don't know if you're going to beat me, though. Good luck.
You have to ask Chris Ferreira.
I don't know if
that's
you'll get the
how easy
T-shirt.
that is to do.
Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't need more people beating me, pushing me down towards that. I came in.
Oh, I don't think it'd be
170.
very hard to beat us.
No. Oh, not
What?
me. Certainly
You
not
have
me.
good records.
That's true. I have been
Like
quite.
the book.
I have been quite good the
Well,
last 2 seasons.
I'm, and you've heard me say this, Paul. I think anyone who can't get a good record straight up just should,
Yeah.
turn in their credentials.
Right.
But when you see a lot of these things, well, back when they used to have newspapers, they had straight up, and like people would have terrible
I think
records.
it's time for me to cancel my globe. By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
that yesterday.
It's about the size of a napkin.
Every
now?
day this week, it has not been there when I've left for work.
Oh, somebody's stealing it, maybe.
No, I get it when I get home.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Huh.
That doesn't do me any good.
No.
What about your crossword?
Well, I bring
You
in
do the next day.
I do. He knows me so well. Grandpa
He's
did
always
his
in there with
crossword.
his glasses, and
Grandpa did his crossword this morning, but it was from yesterday's paper.
Hello, Michael. Just finishing up my crossword.
Deuce.
Emery writes in, from your descriptions of guys like Josh Allen and Peyton Manning handling difficult rookie seasons, it sounds like a good standard for readiness. Sounds like a good standard for readiness is something like, is Drake May ready to handle failure? Is that an accurate assessment? What will be some indicators to you that he won't break down when things go poorly?
See, I think this is a really difficult thing to assess, because when a guy has initial failure and then turns out to be no good, like Sam Darnold or Zach Wilson, is that because he couldn't handle initial failure, or because he wasn't as good as we thought he was? And I think in both of those cases, I don't know the answer. I think they have physical ability, but maybe they just weren't that good, whereas Peyton Manning and Josh Allen were good enough to overcome their initial, failures.
No.
Is that because they were just that much more mentally strong? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you guys look at it.
I mean, I think it's fascinating. I mean, I think that's one of the most interesting things of this year is going to be, because right now it's all sunshine and rainbows. Like, Drake May had a great college career. He was the 3rd overall pick. Everything, has basically been positive. And, we saw it with Mac, too. It was similarly positive, maybe not quite to the same level, but all of a sudden you realize you're playing in the NFL, and playing quarterback, which is one of the hardest jobs you can have in the world. And adversity starts to happen. And, we saw Mac with, and I'd like to just say, I don't want to spend this whole year comparing this whole year to Mac Jones. I really wish I couldn't do it. I wish I could just stop, but it's the most recent example, and it was a 1st-round pick, and it had some success early on, and then it failed, and you do want to learn from it. But I think we saw him dealing with failure. It wasn't easy for him.
And that's a good one, because I think that Mac Jones did show that he was not able to handle his initial failures. He didn't have much football adversity in his life heading into the pros. Yeah. So I don't think he handled it really well. And that might be why ultimately my bigger thing for him was ability. I think if he was a better player, he would have been able to put the failures behind him quicker.
And he'd have less failures.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've thought a lot about this, obviously, with the draft of why does a Sam Darnold or a Zach Wilson, why do those guys fail, but guys that are probably pretty comparable from a skill set standpoint succeed in the league? And the answer is that there's really just no single answer, right? Answer. It's a million different things. But ultimately, I kind of settle where Paul does, which is that probably that those guys just weren't as good as we thought they were, or they, it just wasn't, they didn't have the talent to be, that type of player that can bounce back and things like that. But you often wonder if in a different, especially Sam Darnold, who I thought was going to be a good player in the league. I
really like Darnold, too.
I just wonder if we were in a different world, like if we were in a different, time zone or whatever, if he ends up being not a Hall of Famer, but he ends up being an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Whereas
in a metaverse, there's a place where he
is.
No, I do think that
Mac
all of these
the Super Bowl.
I think all of these guys, case by case, a number of variables could have changed the narrative, and that's one of them for Sam Darnold. If he had gone to Evan's Kyle Shanahan.
Thank you.
Maybe his whole career would have been different. Who knows?
Right.
And everybody's individually different. Like David Carr. I'm not telling you that there's never been a guy who played too soon, got battered and bruised, and got bad habits, and he had everything that you needed, but it didn't work out because they played him. And I do think David Carr probably falls into that category.
That's what everyone says. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think David Carr was going to be Tom Brady.
No.
I don't think it was that. I think he probably could have had a serviceable NFL career.
Yeah.
I don't think he was like this budding Pro Bowler, All-Pro that was ruined because he got a record amount of sacks.
855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Todd's on the line. Sorry to make you hold on. I forgot we had phones. What's up, Todd?
I don't know. That gave me time to hear
Todd.
Be giving me the gears.
Oh, maybe
Todd,
he hung up on you.
Maybe he said the hell with you, Fred.
Todd.
All right.
Todd.
Well, it's like what you're saying, Paul. It's that's where we kind of live now. It's you take we have the perfect quarterback. This kid is just the arm, athletic, everything you want, everything. What does he need to get to be the greatest of all time. Like, how important is the offensive line? How important is the offensive coordinator? How important is the head coach? How important are the weapons? How important is the running game? You know, it's like you start to pull all these threads out, and when you started with just, you know, a great quarterback, it gets more and more complicated. And you wonder, you know, what's Patrick Mahomes without Andy Reid? You know,
Right.
what is Trevor Lawrence with Andy Reid? You know,
It's
all those different
the
things.
most
that,
undersold portion of all of this is, you know, why do so many top picks at quarterback fail? Because the vast majority of those quarterbacks go to terrible teams.
Yeah.
No one ever says that. No
Yeah.
one ever
Right.
talks about that.
Simple way to just say it.
You know, and people are like, you know, I heard one of the shows, it might have been Mike too, on this one, like, give me an example of a guy who inherited a terrible situation and succeeded. You know, he stepped into a really bad spot. And a lot of people give Andrew Luck as the answer. Like, it was a terrible team that won 2 games. They completely were rebuilding the roster and turning it over. New coach. And he was good right away. He kind of
11 games.
he inherited a bad team and was pretty good right away. Most guys, that's not going to happen for. You know, it's hard to like take, like Chicago right now with Caleb Williams, and I think it was them, because that's on paper seems like a pretty good situation. With, I think they won something like 5 or 6 of their last 8 or 9 last year, so they were kind of coming on. They go and get Swift. They drafted a Dunze, I think, right? They
Yep.
got Rome Dunze.
Yeah, and Keenan Allen.
And they got Cole Kmet. They sign Allen. They put that's a pretty good situation. You're putting your number 1 overall pick in. If he fails, you're not going to be able to say, "Well, they got nothing around him."
Right.
You can't say that for
No.
Caleb Williams if he doesn't pan out. But how many guys get drafted with the number 1 overall pick and have that, as opposed to what Bryce Young inherited last year?
Right.
And I think that's everybody's fear about putting Drake May into this situation, is that they are probably more, the Patriots are probably more in the Carolina Panthers Bryce Young category than the Bears and Caleb Williams' category. So if you feel that way, that's why you're saying, I don't want May anywhere near the field as a rookie, because this team is not ready for him. And a lot of people would say that that's why all these quarterbacks fail. I would say that if he's good enough, he'll be the one driving the bus, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Young, they had a terrible season, right? Obviously. But, like, we'll see, like, if Bryce Young turns into a puddle, you know, or is Bryce Young really that good? I don't know.
Like, no, if he goes like 3 or 4 years and he plays like he did last year, I'll say bust.
Yeah.
Like, he can't play. I'm not ready to call him a bust now.
No, not yet.
He had a bad rookie year by all accounts.
Right.
Like, by all metrics, he didn't play well.
Yeah.
But I also would like to see him play a little bit and see if it gets better.
Yeah.
See if there's any development there, or
And
is he
again,
just not that good.
We're going
He's
by the
kinda
numbers.
small.
I have to admit, I didn't watch any Carolina Panther games. Maybe a few snaps here and there. So I don't really know the details. Like, you know, was it all Bryce Young? You know,
No.
how much of it
Their
was what's
receiving
around
core
him?
was one of the worst.
You know,
in the league.
yeah.
Like, it was basically Adam Thielen, and that's it.
It's like
Yeah.
33-year-old Adam.
Yeah.
Thielen.
corpse of Allen.
So
Yeah, literally.
Had a decent year for me off my bench.
There was a lot of Bryce Young holding the football, looking around with 5 guys blanketed, being
Yeah.
like, where am I supposed to go with
See,
this?
that's the
right
thing
now?
that I like though about Drake May is with Bryce Young. You mentioned like his size. Like those are like the things that when it's not happening, then you start to focus more on what the shortcomings are. And I'm glad with like Drake that even if it doesn't work out, like I don't think we're going to get to the point where he's just not athletic. Like he just doesn't have the right size. Like he's got all those traits, so that won't be any of the excuse. It'll just be
I
because he
agree.
can't play.
But going back to Bryce Young, I mean, he didn't get hurt, right? Like
I
he
don't
might have
think
had
so.
a few. Right.
He might have gotten nicked up.
He
I
might
don't
have
think.
get
played
nicked
all
up.
the games,
But,
actually.
So he didn't get hurt. So the question is, terrible season, but is there value that he got out of being out there for those games? Did he learn anything? So now he knows what it looks when it's bad.
Yeah. Well, if
You
you,
know-
believe what they're saying out of OTAs, it was, he, looks like it's all clicking. I mean, of course, that's what you kind of expect to hear. But, I mean, at least what they're saying down there, I saw some of that. Sounds like he looks like he's in command now. But, again, I think the weapons and, the team around him is going to be the problem. I mean, they unloaded Brian Burns. I mean, it's a total redo on the defensive side of the ball now.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a first-round pick because they traded it for Bryce Young last year. So that was a big part of it. But, to Deuce's point, this is why I got so enamored with Drake May in the draft process, was because his margin for error should be a little bit bigger than these other guys because he's 6'5" and 220 pounds and has a cannon arm. So all the physical tools are going to be there for him just off the jump. So a guy like Bryce Young, he has to overcome the fact that he's small.
Yeah.
And that's going to always be something that he's going to have to overcome.
Yeah. Samir in Maine writes in, going to an open practice with a buddy and didn't know what time we should plan on arriving. Gates open at 10, but should we get there for 9 or 9:30? Also, can we bring our own food in a cooler? I don't believe coolers are allowed.
It's a clear bag
you can
policy.
bring a cooler.
Clear bag policy.
But there's plenty of food trucks and stuff like that. And
it depends. If you have a very specific area that you want to sit, I would get there early.
Well, let's give him the insider. You want to be the inside information. This is what you do. Get there early and then beeline to one of the trees on the hill overlooking the practice fields and sit in the shade under that tree.
So how early do you have to be
happy.
there for that?
9. You got to probably be close to when the door is open, but that's a good spot to be. You'll see the bleachers, but those are under the sun, and it's the hottest place on the planet. So go sit under a tree.
It's literally
that's the spot
face
to be.
of the sun.
Yeah,
it is, and I'm still pitching it to the organization.
Shaded
Can
up.
we just put a shade over for the fans?
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking.
We don't need
Gerard.
to be spending money on that.
We just need
Paul's,
a sunshade,
the employees
if you
should
will.
be getting money.
Paul's right. If you have a specific place you want to
Then
be,
get there early.
you better get there early because they do line up at the gate before 10.
Right.
And then there's a stampede.
For me, I would just want to go to the practice, and I would just get there at 11.
Yeah.
And I would go in, and I'd find a spot. I mean, there's spots to
there's
hang.
always
But if you
spots.
want to be, like Mike said, under a tree to get some shade, you definitely do want to avoid the bleachers if you can. And I know that's where the vast majority of the fans sit, but you can bake in the bleachers.
Yeah, not in a good way. Yeah, it's I mean that
I didn't say get baked.
It's from Matt. But yeah, it's I mean there are always spots, but I think like you said, Paul, if you're going to be there on the weekend too, be aware. It's more busy, people come out. But if you're on a weekday, especially a couple weeks into camp, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Usually the crowds kind of taper off.
And I'll tell you, you might have a better time this year because that fun Red Sox are really starting.
Fun.
Pennant
too
Fever
expensive.
Grips Hub.
Are we gonna get the Jalen Brown take?
Yeah, come on, Fred.
And this
What
is
are you
like
waiting?
our true last.
This is, I know. He's
show,
holding
so.
it right.
No, so a lot of people are, and what Paul said earlier could be the reason. Like he's just an abrasive guy, and that's as simple as it is, and people don't back him up. But I hear a lot of people, they're mad at Nike because, big corporate, flexing their muscle just because they spent the money, blah, blah, blah. And they're mad at USA Basketball for giving in and allowing Nike to pull their weight around. And I say this, first of all, if you're the main sponsor of the team, I think you should have some say, first of all, especially when you're talking about a guy who in the past has said bad things about your company, right? So, hey, can we maybe avoid that situation and not have him on the team? And by the way, that's not going to hurt your chances to win a gold medal. I don't blame USA Basketball for kind of listening to, if that's the case, to kind of listening to Nike in this case. Like you got a guy who, God knows what he's going to do. Is he going to use this as a platform to say more bad things about us? So if we can avoid that, could you work with us on that? And I get it. Like it sounds like corporate America, going against the one guy, but it is about money. They're spending a lot of money on USA Basketball, and USA Basketball needs that money. I kind of, looking at it from the management standpoint, I can understand where, hey, if we can avoid that situation, let's do it. And like you said, Paul, if you're going to be that guy where speak out and have that principle, there's consequences. There's consequences when it comes to money,
and you have to stand by it.
You have
and that's
to, right.
Listen, I like Jalen Brown as much as anybody else as a player.
Yes.
And I would never tell any athlete or any person that they shouldn't feel comfortable stating their beliefs on social issues or anything else.
Right.
Whatever, obviously within reason.
Yeah.
You can't just, it's free speech, but
right.
you can't yell fire in a burning building.
Right.
in a regular building. But with Jaylen Brown, there are consequences. It's like I would feel better about him if he didn't then backtrack these things. Like, you're retweeting Kyrie when he had the anti-Semitic comments, and then you're like, oh, I didn't realize that. Well, are you doing it or you're not?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to take issue with Nike and sweatshops and whatnot, but then I'm going to say, I have more things to say about that, but I'm be for another time. It's like Muhammad Ali went to prison and forfeited his championship for his beliefs.
Right.
If you have different opinions, stand by them.
Stand by them. We work for the Patriots, right? We have sponsors. If I was mad at one of our sponsors for whatever, and I got on Twitter and started bad-mouthing that sponsor would have every right to go to the page and say, hey, one of your employees is really, saying bad stuff about it. We're paying you 7 figures a year to put our name. Can you talk to him? Can you do something about that? They'd have every right to do that.
Yeah, we'd never do that, Jersey Mike's. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I just think that you said it originally. Just if Jaylen Brown was the difference between them winning a gold medal and not,
that's why I said we're not hurting your chances to win a gold.
Then I think he'd be on the team.
Right.
Like I used this example yesterday. I was talking to somebody about this. If this was Nikola Jokic in Serbia, and Nikola Jokic was saying something about a Serbian sponsor, then the Serbian Basketball Federation would probably be like, well, to be honest with you, he's our only good player.
Right.
So
and they'd push back.
We'll talk to him and try to get him to not say those things again, but he will play.
But and I love Jaylen Brown.
No media for him.
I literally came in here wearing a Celtics championship gear the day after they won the title, okay? But he is probably realistically the 7th or 8th best player on the team. So if you really think about it,
you just lost your green team card, by the way.
I'm just being honest.
Alex is going to want a word later.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest about it. Like he's a very good player, but that's a team of very, very good players.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah.
So he's probably a bench coming off the bench for Team USA. He's probably the 7th or 8th best player on the team. That they're going to roll to a gold medal. They're going to roll. They beat Serbia yesterday by 30 points, and Serbia is probably the 2nd best team in the world.
Oh, what's the point?
So there, as long as like something, a meteor doesn't fall from the sky and hit their hotel, like they're going to win the gold medal. So for all that being said, for Nike, if they're just like, well, can you put Devin Booker, who's a 3rd-team All-NBA, on the team instead of Jaylen Brown? Instead, like, is that okay? And the Team USA is like, yeah, for the 10 minutes that Devin Booker is going to play in the Olympics, we'll do it.
Yeah. Well, growing up, Nike was a 4-letter word in my house, so you don't have to tell me.
Well, it's literally a 4-letter word.
Yeah. And listen, which one of these sneaker companies don't have Chinese labor making their stuff?
Yeah.
And they all do, right?
No, my dad used to go to Korea to watch them.
Yeah.
The factory.
Well,
it's all cheap labor. I mean, Converse, were they made in America? Were they the only ones that made it?
I think they were.
Yeah. The old Chuck Taylors.
Chuck Taylors.
Probably really good for your feet. Slabs of rubber.
What are those new shoes everybody's been wearing? The big, like, kind of look orthopedic.
The Hokas?
Hokas, yeah.
Oh, those aren't new.
What's up with those things?
They're comfortable.
They're just comfortable?
They're like clouds. Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They've been around for a while. The running crowd really knew about them for years.
Seeing them.
Yeah.
They're big.
And how did you find out about them?
Hokas.
From the running crowd. Yeah. I don't run.
Who do you know in the running crowd?
He runs.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
I
run this place.
He's a tennis player.
That's true.
Into the ground.
Let's see.
Wow. Wimbledon final, Fred?
Wow.
Sorry I didn't get to talk to you. How'd you feel?
Alcaraz, man.
Yeah,
wow.
he's good,
what
huh?
a show he put on.
That was a clinic.
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
was fantastic.
Djokovic was clearly not healthy, but that was a clinic.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
What a day for Espana, huh?
Oh, good day. Yeah.
Good day for them.
Yeah. No,
I'm going to need more information.
They
that
won Euro
that was a
and
master
Alcaraz
class.
is also
What he
top.
did.
Well, I knew Alcaraz was Spanish.
Yeah.
I didn't know something happened.
Good for, and be so excited to see what he can do in the U.S. Open. You know, if he could do 3 of the Grand Slams. Thursday, I was listening. This is Stevie in Texas. I was listening to the comparison of the Patriots and the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, this is Paul's thing.
Yeah, I understand why we were.
It's my thing.
They asked
we were
us,
hoping that you
weren't
were
here.
Yeah,
and they asked us.
I
and we
listened to
kinda
this part of the show.
Is it bad?
And I was like, they really needed me. And
Yeah,
Paul.
okay.
no,
Well,
we
let's
did.
read the email and we can
We
get
were
into
aware
it.
of it.
On
so,
Thursday,
so it's great that we're bringing it up at 153.
I know. I was listening to the comparisons of the Patriots to the Chicago Bulls. I understand why some would compare the two, considering they both won 6 titles, had the greatest player of all time, and 2 of the greatest coaches of all time. With that being said, I never really send the Patriots, never something like the Patriots, like the Bulls, but more like the San Antonio Spurs due to the longevity of their success. I think Pop is more like Bill than Phil Jackson. Also, who would you have as your top 5 NBA players of all time? Mine's Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, Magic, Tim Duncan. All right. Anyway.
Tim Duncan.
You missed Larry Bird. Sorry.
Tim Duncan. Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't.
No,
that
I
was
wouldn't
mean.
put Tim Duncan.
That
but-
was mean. I'm
but
sorry.
I love Tim Duncan.
Remind me of the conversation that we were
Yeah.
saying. Oh, I wish Paul was here
I
to
think
straighten
so.
us
They were
out.
like asking us to compare the Bulls dynasty and the Patriots dynasty,
Because
and
I kind of agree with his assessment there.
oh, well, that,
Spurs
my
are
only
probably
point that I think I made was just that the Patriots was a little longer. It seemed like the Bills were very dominant, but for like an 8-year period, whereas the Patriots were longer. But that was
Well, the Bulls,
that's all I
but they
kinda
were
had.
knocking on the door. They lost to the bad boy Pistons,
Yeah.
and like they were.
But it did abruptly end.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
But I wonder, I mean, it would have been 8 in a row. There's no doubt in my mind.
If he didn't play
if he didn't
baseball.
retire.
Yeah. Retire.
/ get suspended.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do think that the comp to San Antonio to me works better because I do think of I think Popovich is very overrated, but I think he's more like Bill than Phil Jackson.
Did you say Phil's
I
more
would
like
agree with
Andy
that
Reid?
in terms of style.
Maybe a little
Absolutely.
bit. Well, Phil Jackson's nickname was the Zen Master.
Right.
He was like a complete fruitcake, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
more of an ego manager for sure. Tex Winter was their like strategic.
He's the one that came up with the triangle.
But like triangle, like offensive innovation.
That's Tex
some of the
Winter.
similar.
Mike,
Well,
we're
that's
talking basketball now.
I'm
That's
trying
Tex Winter.
to dabble a little
He's
bit.
given the
Paul.
triangle offense over here.
I
Mister.
have
I don't know how many
triangle.
points of 3-pointer
It's just a
is.
shape.
The
I've
only
heard
the
about
only
it.
like gripe I had with your
Yeah.
whole thing.
No, we were fully aware. We didn't know what the hell we were talking
Yeah,
about.
so
I was just-
you said that the Bulls three-peats were basically the same team.
Mhm.
And it was Michael and Scotty the whole time,
Right.
but the supporting cast changed
Who's the guy
significantly.
with the
Rodman-
glasses? Who's the-
Rodman was just the
the
second
glasses
one.
guy?
The second three.
Who was that?
So he was
Yeah.
like Gronk.
Who's the guy with the glasses?
Horace Grant.
Horace Grant was the first
From the Magic,
one.
right? See, I know a little bit.
Horace Grant was
I
the
think he did go
first
to the Magic,
the
yeah.
first three-peat. Dennis Rodman came in for the second three-peat. Tony Kukoc,
All right,
second.
so I mean, it's kind of similar, little vibes.
They,
yeah.
they definitely turned it over.
yeah.
Yep.
Except
But it's-
for Pippen
Except for well,
Michael.
just
Yeah.
like except for
The heart of it's just
Brady.
hard because you're
Right.
basically playing 6 players anyway, like that. I mean, it's hard comparison anyway. But.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we weren't that.
Yeah, we were right. We were totally right.
No,
I know everything about
no,
basketball.
it just was like the details, you know.
I'm
the
just finding out
context
that
and
Mike's been
everything.
holding out basketball
I
information.
didn't know you knew triangle offense. That's a,
I did
there you
know
go.
that. I don't know how to
But,
execute
you know,
it.
Horace
I couldn't
Grant.
put it up on the big board, Evan.
But 6 and 8 in 7 years.
6 and 8.
6 and 8 years.
6 and
That,
8.
that's
Mm.
amazing.
Two
pretty-
3-peats in an 8-year
Yeah,
span.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
But I
Incredible.
bet you Paul would also tell you that he thought the Patriots could have gotten a couple that they didn't in
Sure.
a row, and maybe even
And,
look more.
but we could have
dominant.
lost some that we won too.
If Jerry Krause was our GM and we were all in,
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
Do you see the boo Jerry Krause? That was terrible.
Terrible.
I mean, he's
His
dead, but,
widow.
like, it's
Yeah.
horrible.
But when Jordan left, the wheels came off. And Bridgestone is the official tire of the New England Patriots and proud partner with Sullivan Tire, the New England's headquarters for quality Bridgestone tires. Visit sullivantire.com to find a location near you. And of course, Bud Light, we know what it is. It's easy to drink, it's easy to enjoy, and it's the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. All right.
that was just
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be
Chef's
back
kiss.
next week on Tuesday, our normal time. But then Wednesday, we'll be live at practice. So big week next week. We'll see you then.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.